Hey, welcome everybody. Yes, we are back. And yes, I did not forget to unmute this time. The last couple
We
shows I've been
hope.
producing. Yeah, yeah. Well, all of a sudden the live chat's gonna be like, we can't hear
Yeah, yeah.
anything, which
In
probably is
about in
good.
about 5 seconds, we'll really know.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good when they can hear you and can't hear me. They haven't ever complained about that, right? It's only when they can't hear
Uh,
you
the,
and they can hear
the
me they
accent.
start complaining, right?
Oh well, it's the accent. It's yeah. Well, you know what they say about us Australians.
Yeah, everything you say sounds intelligent. It's not
It does.
intelligent.
It
It's
does.
not
It sounds it. Yeah, yeah. It
not
sounds it.
quite
Whether it is or
British,
not.
right? British people have just an edge on that, but you're close second.
We're working on it. We're working on it. We're the ones who escaped from England all those years ago.
Yeah,
We got out.
escaped as in like like
Escaped. Yeah.
tossed aside and
Escape.
said, "Hey, you can have your own lands because we don't want you here." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one. Escaped on the convict ships. Yeah. Yeah. As we were transported. But anyway, whole other story. So how are you, mate?
I'm
It's
doing
been a
well.
couple of weeks.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, so I do these things at like 8 o'clock my time, right? I like what 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock for you, right? Give or take.
1 o'clock, 1 p.m.
Okay, one p.m. So in
But
order
tomorrow.
tomorrow, yeah, you're in the future. You're
Yeah.
like literally a day
Yeah.
ahead. So in order for me to like function this late at night, because this is about the time I usually wind down, right? I'm like chilling. I might have a little bit of scotch or something. I might, watch a video, a movie, or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Some TV. And instead, though, I'm sitting here drinking coffee like I normally would do. Oh, by the way, my visible club, like I normally would do for Caffeine Corner, right? So, um, I'm making some super duper coffee. And so I actually have to stay awake. So probably after this, I'm going to be up a lot longer than I need to be, but I guess it's worth it. So I'm going to blame you for my insomnia, my sleep,
Good.
apnea,
Well,
whatever the
people
hell.
people blame me for a lot of things, so there's nothing wrong there. And on that note, you'll be very happy to know that my coffee just arrived. So a big thank you to my wonderful wife for delivering it, and I'll say cheers and have a coffee with you.
Yeah. What kind do you drink, by the way?
I think this is actually it's a long black, but I think it's like a Kenyan blend. I don't know. My brother works for Nespresso and gets me really really good coffees, so I just he gets them for me. I drink them.
Yeah. Okay. I have a coffee maker and I do have what's called, what is it? Death coffee, which is like massive caffeine. Like literally one cup is like equivalent to like six or something. It's some ridiculous amount of caffeine.
Okay.
I can only take that
Probably like a weak version for Australia, I guess.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably what you guys probably just eat the ground, the actual
yeah.
grounds itself, right? I mean, just spoon.
I put on my cornflakes every morning.
So that's a little bit potent for me. So I don't drink that very often because I usually like cut it with something and I don't have any. So this is actually instant. But it is good.
Cool.
And yes, almost always put a little brandy in for flavor. I'm allowed to, of course.
Makes sense.
Okay, you're not judging me for that. Good.
No, no, I fully support this.
It really is just a capful too. I'm not even joking. I mean, it's not a lot of brandy. It's just enough to add a little flavor because I'm telling you, the taste of brandy and coffee is fantastic.
You know what? I'm going to try. I've never tried that. I'm a cognac fan, which is French brandy, or a French version of brandy.
Yeah,
I'm going to try
cognac.
that
Yeah,
this afternoon. Yeah, I'm going to give that a go.
do it.
So
I'm
I
telling
should.
you. You
Yeah.
let me know. And by the way, let me know outright what you think of it. I use
Hmm.
E&J VSOP, which is it's not like the cheapest stuff, but it's not the most expensive. It's whatever,
Mhm.
but it's just brandy, and it just make.
I think
I
I've got
put about that much in, and I'll put like just a capful, half a capful. Not It doesn't take a lot, right? Not enough to
Well,
even really get buzzed at all.
I've got this sucker nice and close, so
Oh,
we
nice.
might see how the show goes.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, it's been a while. He had some.
Hmm.
Chris had some stuff last week, and
Mhm.
then I don't know. I couldn't stream before that, so forgive us for not doing these as much as we had planned. It's no other reason other than just situation stuff. Trust me. Right.
Nah, come on, we had a big falling out. All the trolls were right.
I
You
told
tried to
this is
cancel me.
this is why I don't trust you, man. This is why we can't have nice
No, I
things.
blame you.
You know.
I know.
I
See,
keep on telling him, hey, you can't let people know about these things. And what he has to do is to tell everybody. I mean, he's like the male Cheshire, right? I mean, he's like the male version of Cheshire, which, by the way, I found out today, Cheshire is not a real woman according to certain people.
yeah, I saw
Did you see
that. I
that?
saw that.
Interesting,
So,
right?
well, you see, I just figured that's because she's 17. Maybe she's not quite at womanhood yet. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
I don't know, but it's really bizarre that they discuss her femininity quite frequently.
Yeah, it's amazing the insight that random trolls on the internet have about people's lives. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about that
Great.
the other day. I was like, if these people actually knew half of what they even thought they knew, they actually would be
Mm.
making a difference. Because every time I'm serious. Every time I get up, right, I basically do a certain routine, right? You do your
Mhm.
normal functioning stuff, but I actually check the news, I check my messages, and most of the time I think to myself, what the hell am I looking at this morning? What am I getting myself into? Is it going to be good news from somebody, or am I going to have a plethora of messages from people? I wake up, I'm inundated like with IMs on the bottom of my screen, and I'm just thinking, I don't want to do the rest of the day today. I'm just going to go back to bed, right?
Yeah, look, I see some of the crap that comes your way, and look, I copped a little bit of it just because of the nasty fact I happened to do a show with you. It's seriously unhinged. I mean, at first my attitude was just, look, you know what, don't involve me, don't want to know, don't want to know. But now I'm kind of looking at some of the stuff coming through and just going, hang on, this is just wrong.
We weren't
It's like it's
joking with you.
insanely wrong.
We weren't kidding with you. And by the
Yeah,
way, you were right. I mean, you were saying, look, I don't really care one way or another. I don't want to get involved. And what did I do? I was like, oh, okay. Well,
no.
I did not give you any pressure one way or
You
another,
did
did I?
you did the opposite of what all these people who dedicate their entire lives to it's weird because I'll get these messages of warning. Oh, I'm just a warning. Be careful of Steve. He'll do this, and this. It's all stuff that you've never done. I click on their profile, and their entire profile with their 50 followers that include a certain few people whose names I'm not going to mention. It's just dedicated to how much they hate you.
Mhm.
There's not another tweet, not another anything. It's just about how much they hate Steve, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to trust you because you're clearly a stable, normal person.
And yet,
But the thing is,
I'm trying to put out actual content, right? I did a math video today,
yeah,
math video on integers, right? Or something, not integers, integration. And so it's like they have no other skill set to draw upon other than to hate people, harm people, and to troll people. That's all they do. I mean, literally 24 hours a
yeah,
day, 7 days a week, always somebody
all they
talking
do.
about me, which is fine. Again, that doesn't bother me. It's when they started going after my friends, then they knew they pushed my buttons. And unfortunately, I did respond to that, and that kind of tipped them off that is like a button I have. But yes, I am protective of my friends. I care about my friends.
Okay,
But
I've got a serious question for you, Steve. Do you think it's possible that some of these people might be in love with you?
it's so funny. We asked that. Who did I ask that to the other day? Did I ask that to Cheshire? I don't remember. I asked that to somebody. I was like, is there some feelings here that I'm just not reciprocating? And this is unrequited, and like senpai notice me kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because it is pretty odd that in 3 years, especially, I myself, Bullinator, Red's Rhetoric, and a few other people, we left.
Hmm.
We left these people. We left. We saw that they were going after people personally, right? It was no longer about the arguments. They were viciously attacking people. I didn't like that, right? And
No.
we said, you go your way, we go our way. We started getting some popularity. Red's channel took off. I was doing okay. And then all of a sudden it was, we can't have this. We have to smear these people, like Reds and I, about anything they can find. It was all character assassination, which actually is going to be the topic for tonight, but not quite yet.
Oh yes. No, we will come to it. I might have a couple of opinions on that, but yes.
Really? And if your opinion is different from
Yes.
mine, then we're never doing this again, I assume, right? Because I guess that's the narrative you were told.
Well, yeah. So what I've been told is that if I disagree with you on anything and I don't fall into line, perfectly, not only will you block and cancel me, but you will send your army of trolls after me.
I got a Cheshire. That's about
Hmm.
it. I mean,
That's
some people
scary.
might consider her an army, but that's about it.
She's probably more effective than an army.
People underestimate her to no end. And by the way, her and I disagree on a lot of things.
To their own peril.
And I'll tell you this is the honest truth. Jess and I have had our differences, right? But I love her to death. I mean, really, I honestly would give her kidney for her. But the times we weren't having a problem, that's when people are like, Steve and Chester are fighting. And we're like, no, we're not. It's always been under minor stuff. It's always been really minor stuff. And people are like, oh my God, look at this. Steve's going to screw with Cheshire, or Cheshire's going to screw with Steve. And we're like,
Yeah.
no, none of that's true. All right. So anyways, you want to dive into some of the news stuff?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Let's
So
do it. Where are we going to start? I mean, I've got to be honest. I love watching what goes on in America because it's so funny. It's pure entertainment. We sit here on the on this side of the planet just going, like, shaking our head, just going, how, why, what are you all doing? And even because I think we get a bit more of an unbiased version of the news because at the end of the day, none of us are voting. But then I see the news reports that you get out from both sides of, I guess, the political news divide. Man, there is some entertainment. There is some absolute gold in there.
No, I think you're right. Here's the thing: I don't think the news in America right now is anything to be really trusted, and I don't mean to be conspiratorial.
Absolutely not.
So
It isn't.
yeah. So, but now, so that the conspiratorial that's out there, the conspiratorial people like, oh, the news is really, really, really bad. They're feeding us misinformation to make us drones or whatever. It's not like that. But you and I have discussed this before. We are both convinced, absolutely convinced, that the media does control how we see and view, and they filter things in order to get a thing that they want put out, right? I mean, there's no question about that. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, look, they're putting out the political. They're not reporting the news. They're essentially current affair and opinion shows. I mean, if you think someone like a Tucker Carlson is reporting accurate news, you're kidding yourself.
No,
He's putting out a right wing line, and the same happens on CNN. With what's his name, Cuomo, the governor's brother. A similar sort of thing there. He's just putting out the other side of politics, and it's like watching the politicians debate. There's actually no center ground. There's no actual reporting on what the news is, and what we'll get over here is we don't get. I mean, we get a little bit of slant because, I mean, obviously we've got our left and our right leaning, I guess, channels, but not to the same extent as over there. But it's quite funny to see what the actual story is, what the left or like your CNN puts out, and then what the right and your Fox puts out. And there's three different stories. I think they say the edge is the truth is a three-edged sword. You've got the two versions of it, and then the truth in the middle.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention that because I've actually done this. This is no joke. I've actually looked at headlines, look at CNN, look at NSNBC, look at CBS, doesn't matter, NPR. And there's usually a consilience of some kind, okay? Almost, not always, but most of the time there's some kind of at least variations. And then you have Fox, which is just worded so completely different so many times.
Yeah, but keep in mind, it's you're perceiving that potentially because of the side of politics you sit on.
I don't think so, to be honest. I think it's really notable.
Yeah, it is tribal. It's because it's politics is like sport. It's tribal. It's people will, and look, I hear things from my side of politics in Australia, and I'm more likely to want to hear that. I'm more likely to listen to that. Whereas I'm less likely to listen to the other side. And I'm someone who tries to be, to look at as much of the facts as I can and actually determine what the truth of it is. But I think we all have a slight inbuilt bias in us, whether we like it or not.
I'm okay with that. Look, I am firmly convinced that everybody has some kind of bias. Okay, that's just a reality. What it is how you act upon that bias, how you do not let that bias affect your rational, formative thought process to say, okay, I might have a bias here, but am I looking at this thing objectively? There are people that I do not like, but there are sometimes I say, you know what, this person's not wrong, right? Because I'm trying not to let my bias and disdain for that person cloud my judgment if they say or do something that I actually happen to agree with, right? So I don't think a lot of people have. Well, okay, let me phrase this. I don't think a lot of people have honed that ability. They probably have it, but they have a hard time putting away their own biases when they have to look at something and go, yeah. Like, for example, if Trump ever did anything good, there's no person that hates Trump is going to ever say that he did anything good. It's just not going to happen.
No, that's it.
Right.
No.
Right.
And see, I think this is part of the problem. I just want to clarify something I saw in the chat. No, I'm not a Trump supporter.
Yeah, nor am I. So
I'm politically, when it comes to the US, there isn't really anything that I'd probably resonate to, because Australian politics are much more centrist. So I guess from my point of view, your Democrats are far left, your Republicans are far right. My politics sit in the middle. So, but by the same token, I don't jump on the Trump is orange man bad sort of bandwagon. I think there's plenty that Trump does that's wrong, and I think that a big problem there is in the United States is Trump wakes up and eats cornflakes, and people are going to scream that he's doing something wrong. There's so much misinformation and misreporting on him that when he does do something wrong and bad, which there's plenty of, it just kind of, it gets washed under. It's like the little boy who cries wolf. If people keep going wolf, 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 when there's actually a wolf there, everyone just goes, okay, yep, sure, no problem.
No,
so CNN put out
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. So, and it's and I'll tell you something now. If Trump wins, Trump is going to win off the back of all the people who are out there consistently at him and at him and at him for everything he is doing and isn't doing, because the people who are not politically involved, but who may go and vote for Trump, they'll hear all this terrible stuff they're doing and they'll just go, oh, yeah, it's just all fake news. It plays into his fake news narrative so much. And the reality is there's so much he does that's wrong. Like, there's so many things he's ineffective on. He's not a good politician. He's a business person and I see this all the time. You see business people who have a high level of success in business. They can't always adapt to bureaucracy, administrations, and politics, because they're used to just making the decisions and that's it. Whereas they're not used to working with teams, having advisors, having to go through different layers of bureaucracy and government. So he's not effective. So I just want to clarify, no, I'm not a Trump supporter. If I was in the US, the reality is I probably wouldn't vote for either of them.
Yeah, Trump is not somebody who plays well in a team, right? I mean, he's very narcissistic. He's very, very me. Yeah, and I think his whole life he's probably been told that he's a lot better at stuff than he actually is. In fact, I'm convinced of that. He probably his whole life was mediocre at best and probably horrible at certain things. And they just didn't want him to feel bad about his inadequacies, and so they told him all his life, he's so good at this.
He's a billionaire who's surrounded by people who want to keep their job.
Yeah,
yes, Mr. Trump. Good idea, Mr. Trump.
Yeah. Exactly. Nobody's going to tell him the truth. I mean, I'll give you an example with, before we get into the what we're going to be talking about tonight. I mean, the whole cognitive function test. Remember that whole? Did you watch that? He was so proud that
I saw bits and pieces of that.
Well, I mean, okay, he took a cognitive function test, which, by the way, my dad during his later days had a very similar test. He didn't do exceptionally well on it. He was suffering from problems, and I kept trying to tell the doctors he's not doing well. Finally they told me, yeah, he probably doesn't have much longer to live. He did pass about 6 months afterwards, but you could tell by the cognitive test that there was something not quite right. So I understand why they do these things, but because he had a minor strokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he was so proud that he kind of said he was aced it, and he said the doctors were what I don't want to put the words in his mouth, but he said something like the doctors were so impressed, right? And it's like, first of all, I want to talk to those doctors. Is that against the HIPAA oath? Is that against HIPAA to say?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
So could they can't weigh in? I don't know. Yeah. Can they say? Because I want to talk to that doctor that said, hey, you know what? Yeah, we were really impressed by Trump passing a cognitive function test. Because I think of myself, they were probably really impressed that he passed it because they probably thought that he wouldn't. I don't know.
Look, you got to remember, Trump's a New York real estate salesman. Everything's great. He's going to tell you, I passed. Not only did I pass the test, it was the best result ever. It's like,
I have all the best results.
This apartment, not only does it have 3 bedrooms, but it's got 3 huge bedrooms. They're the greatest views that you're going to get. You're not going to get better than this. He's a salesman.
Huge. It's huge. You got to do
huge.
it right.
It's huge.
With it, why?
Huge.
No, huge.
Huge. Oh, huge.
I'll teach you. I'll learn you, man. Huge.
I've got to work on my American.
That's actually New Yorkian.
Yeah. That all sounds the same to me.
Yeah, no, he pronounces it huge with a U. Oh, the Y. Yeah. All right, so let's get going here. But by the way, welcome all the people coming over. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Little Red probably sent some people our way. Thank you very much, Little Red. All right, so here we go. Let's see if I hopefully do this right. Again, I don't have a producer, so. All right. So I want to talk about this real quick. Again, nothing really spectacular. It's just I thought this was kind of interesting. Only for the fact that this was Ivanka Trump promotes can of Goya beans violates ethics standards. And basically, in a nutshell, the guy from Goya Foods did a speech, I guess, at the White House. He's a Trump supporter. I guess they're donating food during the whole Covfefe thing, which we're going to use for, you know what that stands for, right? The C word we're not going to use so we don't get demonetized.
Voldemort. We'll call it Voldemort.
Voldemort is good. It's so funny, too, because YouTube is actually, I swear, man, you could be putting out right information about what's going on, and they've been just flagging those videos.
Oh, they zap it. Yeah. They'll zap it straight away. Yep.
So she basically acted as a spokesperson for these Goya beans. And the tweet that she put out, I mean, I wait a second for you to see it because he can't see the internal, but you'll see it on the outside feed here, right? She has a tweet of her holding it, and it looks so fabricated, right? It's just like, hello, and it says, if it's Goya, it has to be good. Si es Goya, tiene que ser bueno. I just can't. I mean, it's
Okay,
like,
so
wow, really?
so I'm not too sure what the ethical standards are in the US, or if it's a breach, or what the situation is. It's not unusual for leaders to promote products from their country, and I believe this is in response to and possibly something we can touch on a little bit later, because of the speech that was made by the head of Goya. All of a sudden, people wanted to cancel Goya.
Yes, there's a cancel culture
Yeah,
there, which, by the way,
and
good segue for later.
very good segue. So that, yeah, I mean, look, the way I look at that is this is a reaction to, it's cancel it. It's good stuff. Here it is. Yep, no problems. I don't think it's look, if it was paid advertising. If say for instance Ivanka was a shareholder in Goya, or was receiving some form of reimbursement, different story. I think in this case it's a reaction to cancel culture. It's not unusual for, I've seen, the Australian Prime Minister will go overseas and promote Australian companies. We've had, we've had leaders of foreign nations come here to promote, companies from their country, to encourage trade, because it all leads to jobs in that country. Is it one of those scenarios? No, it's not. But it's clearly a reaction to cancel culture.
I don't think it even mattered whether she was a paid spokesperson or not. The rule is that you can't do it from the White House. That was the thing, because the ethical standards is you cannot promote things from the White House. And if you can see the screen now, I mean, you literally got the president sitting there promoting stuff, and so fabricated. It's just this is cringe stuff. This is cringe level looking at this. It's like,
I mean,
that's something from the '50s.
Trump eats a lot of McDonald's and Air Force One. There's official photos of him plowing into a Big Mac. Does that count as, it's where do you draw that line? Now, here, clearly, this is something that's different. Is there an ethical line that's being crossed? Well, I don't know, because I don't know the rules there. Is it a response to, is it them going out of their way to promote something for self-interest? No. But what it is it's clearly a response to cancel culture. And look, there's a problem when someone will have their entire business and the jobs of those people who work for them put at risk because people don't like your politics. It's ridiculous.
No, and I understand that, but I don't necessarily think it was like a complete response to cancel culture. Now, granted, they were going after Goya Beans. They were going after him. What is it, Robert? I can't pronounce it.
Mr. Goya.
No, that's not his last name. His last name starts with a U. Unaway, something like that. But the fact is that he did his speech. There was a lot of political outcry for that. That, to me, though, still doesn't give them the ability to violate a long-standing ethical rule that you cannot promote things from the White House, which does exist. So that's nothing to do with cancel culture. That has been around for a very long time.
And look, I don't take any issue with that. I guess I see that point. I think there's a fair argument to be made there. And additionally, I guess the head of Goya, he surely would have known that there would be backlash when you're a business owner and you make a political statement or a political speech. Sure. You've got to expect that. But I guess I don't have an issue necessarily with someone giving the middle finger to cancel culture. I guess there potentially, I can see where there's a line that's being crossed. Maybe not so much from Ivanka, definitely from the president.
Yeah, well, it definitely seems to blur the lines here. Is like the Devans points out, could be a kickback to the CEO pledging support to Trump, right? I mean, it's like, you wash my back, I wash yours, and there's a lot of problems in the United States when it comes to campaign reform, because there's a lot of regulations of how you can donate money to a political campaign person, right? I mean, nobody even understands campaign financing, right? Even the people that do it, they don't even know. Half the time they end up going, "Oh, we broke a law we didn't realize existed."
That's not just an American problem. Don't worry.
Oh, you guys have that too?
I think it's everywhere in the world.
Because, like I said, it's like you can only donate so much, and then if you do this and you do that, and so I think that maybe they're trying to get around that by trying to get his support, and by getting his support, they literally from the White House promoted his product. I see issues with this, so I think it was an ethical problem. I think they did violate ethical standards. What becomes of it, who the hell knows, right?
And you know what? initially my thoughts were, no, it's fine. But now that I know that there is the issue with promoting things from the White House, you know what? I've changed my mind. I agree with you,
Wow.
Steve. I've fallen. You know what? I have fallen into line.
I think I'm having respiratory issues or a heart attack. I don't know. Wow, that doesn't happen very
Hey,
often.
no one's more worried than me. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Okay, one for Steve. We're gonna we're gonna keep tabs through the show. Hey, it's okay. I change my mind all the time. People say that I don't change my mind. No, when I present an evidence and a good argument, I have actually in real time go, yeah, you make a good point. I think I might agree with you. Right? I mean, that's what intelligent people do. Look, I've said this before. If
and
you
there's
don't
nothing wrong. You need to be able. And just incidentally, we do have a slight delay. So if we ever look like we're talking over each other, we probably are. But I'm going to blame the delay for it. So Steve doesn't get angry and cancel me. Look, I think the best thing that we can do, and what we don't do enough of, is have honest discussions from different points of view, and sit there and say, you know what, I can see your side. Maybe you can see my side. Maybe we find a middle ground like we just did then, where I go, you know what? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll cop that. Yeah, there's probably an ethical breach there. Now I think about it. Now I guess I've sort of spoken about it, and yeah, I can see that. I can see a bit of the other side. But even if we don't come to an agreement, it's okay.
It's perfectly fine.
It's good.
Here's the thing. Look, if you don't change your mind on certain issues every so often, you literally are violating what's called virtual epistemology and being open-minded. There's nobody that's so intransigent, that's so inflexible in their thinking, that cannot be, your thinking cannot change. As we grow, we change positions. We all have across the board. I mean, I guarantee you, Chris has probably not had the same political views he did 20 years ago.
Look, I can assure you I don't. It was funny. I actually had a conversation on my channel a couple of nights ago with he's a guy. He's a Christian conservative commentator and journalist. He sort of writes a few blogs, and I think he's done a few things for magazines, things like that. And he had the premise that without Jesus, democracy can't survive. So we had a conversation about that. And I'm there listening to this guy. I'm thinking, shit, it's like I'm having a conversation with myself 10 years ago.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah. It's wow. Was I like? And he was a really nice guy. Had some arguments, and we actually found some common ground on things. Yeah, we had a few historical claims that he'd made that I was able to correct because of that's what I do. And it was interesting. It was amazing. I sort of thought back to what I used to believe and what I used to think, and even not so much. I mean, my politics didn't really change. Probably more the social.
But your Bible
issues.
Bashing Baptist, thumping.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's that's. I could probably still do that if I wanted to, but
I know you can still speak in tongues. Boring. I watched that with Navadia.
Oh yeah,
that was good.
Yeah,
that was really good. I was impressed.
That was fun.
If you guys haven't seen
I'll break out.
Yeah, you could do it. You could do it here soon. But he actually Navadia, he was teaching Navadia to actually speak in tongues, and I was like, "This is awesome, actually." But
it was good. We brought Navadia to Jesus. It was great.
She had a Jesus moment.
Oh, she did. It was funny because I think the next video she put out was one where she put it out and she'd converted to Christianity, and she was Mary Magdalene, and she was talking about all the nasty things that go on, and it was a parody. It was really good, and I saw that and I thought, oh, that's just wonderful.
Yeah, I would have liked to see those videos when you were some kind of Bible, thumping person. That would have been kind of cool, especially if you're promoting a theocracy with Jesus at the head.
Well,
right?
You know what I'll do? I will send you some interviews from, it's around about 13, 14 years ago, where I actually interviewed the head of, well, basically the Christian Democrats, who is a sitting politician. He's been in Parliament for about 30 years. Me as a Christian having a political conversation with him. The only thing I'm going to warn you, I had this really bad goatee at the time. Don't judge me on that, but I'll find the. I'll send you the links.
I'll just do audio only. I'll do audio only. Okay.
It's probably a good idea. Yeah. Probably.
Well, I really don't want to have to look at your face for too long. No, I'm kidding. I
don't blame you.
Look at him. He's all chiseled and stuff like this. I mean, and by the way, you're not quite as old as me, but you're getting there, right?
Well,
this is what you have to look forward to. Give it a few years.
That's good.
The Devans
look out.
says, see how people had information to share to sway his opinion, and as opposed to screaming and yelling that Chris didn't know. What a wonderful world. Aww. Yes, that is love. And by the
It
way,
is.
any super chats, Chris and I are splitting, so feel free if you need to, but if not, that's fine too. We do
Yeah,
this together. It's
if,
fun.
ask me anything if you want. If you got a question for me, ask me. If you want to send a super chat, wonderful. Good,
Awesome.
do it.
All right, so
If you don't.
okay, so we both agree there. Let's move to the next one. Okay, so this one was you won't believe that Donald Trump. You won't believe what Donald Trump just said about the Voldemort testing. So here's the thing on this. Again, whenever you read a headline that says you won't believe, you can automatically know that it's BS, right? Except this one actually is kind of spot on. Yeah, this one actually was kind of spot on.
Okay.
This is an article about Donald Trump trying to convey this message that the reason why the amount of cases have gone up is pretty much directly related, if not fully, because of how many people are being tested. And people have tried to explain to him over and over and over again that testing doesn't cause people to get this. Can I say the V word? Is that yeah.
Voldemort? Yeah.
Well, I have to say yeah. I was going to say the V is in the, but I'll go with Voldemort. So it won't get you to get you won't get Voldemort by testing. What it does is identifies the people that have this, right? That's what it does. Thank you, I Moon, $5. She says 2 of my favorite people.
Well, you're one of my favorite people too.
She is amazing.
She's awesome.
Very generous.
Absolutely awesome.
She listens to these things. She actually likes them. So if one person likes it, we've done okay. But so, what do you think about that? I mean, why do you think he's so resident to try to accept this reality that merely testing doesn't create new cases; it just identifies them?
See, I think. Well, I mean, I know I've seen some of these press conferences he's done. Now, Trump's not the best speaker in the world. I'll start by saying that. My understanding of it is he's saying the reason that the figures are going up are because we're doing more testing, which isn't necessarily inaccurate. It certainly doesn't cause more cases, but the more people you test statistically, the more cases you're going to find. And I mean, that would make sense to me. I don't necessarily think it's a good argument. I think the way that the US has handled Voldemort has been woeful. I understand woeful. That there's reasons behind that as well. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that essentially the United States is different to every other country in the world, where you're essentially 50 different countries rolled into one, and where a lot of other countries have centralized control through a federal government, there's a lot more power to the states and even to local governments in the United States. It's a complete mess. It was set up for it was probably a really good system when there was 13 colonies.
Yeah, now we have, like you said, 50 independent. It's a confederacy of states, right? Golden Unicorn, 50 New Zealand. To all the trolls who are jealous of me out there, couple emojis. Thank you, Golden Unicorn. And you know what? Those trolls are jealous of you. And by the way, we will get a little bit into cancel culture. Actually, probably a lot into cancel culture tonight after we get started in this. And Golden Unicorn is one of those people they've gone after merely because who she is and who she associates with. It doesn't matter the fact she has a master's degree, right? It doesn't matter that she's a wonderful human being that was one of my friends long before she came onto YouTube. I knew her from Facebook groups. That didn't matter to anybody. It's just the fact that she was a friend of mine. So she can't really have anything to say about her being a victim of certain things, or being a woman.
Clearly she's just under your control. I mean, you've got these magical mind powers that I'm stuck under your spell. I mean, I'm trying to escape and go and join all these.
I understand with
people,
you. Yes, I get that. We have that kind of relationship. Right.
It's like a Jedi mind trick. Maybe you're like a secret Jedi. You'll do as I tell you. It's sort of something like that. I mean, you have to teach me that later.
Yeah. Once I figure out how I do it, I'll let everybody know. I'll bottle it. Super Mommy 76 Advocate, another person who came over a long time ago after a lot of stuff happened. And now is a frequent member of her channel. Thank you, Super Mommy. She says $10. Ditto to Aya, which is Aya Moon. Mwah. So we appreciate it. By the way, please help share this show. I think this is actually one I actually like doing this. Was I really honestly didn't
It's
think I
so
was
much fun.
going to. It wasn't because of Chris. I know I got along with Chris. It was just like, oh my God, we're gonna be talking about politics. What the hell do I know about politics?
Well, that's all right. That's why I'm here to educate you.
And I'm cool with that. Look, man, I like to usually stay in my lane, right? I did a math video today. I do some math videos and whatever. I might do a physics video. But I figured when I have an actual person who has been in politics, why not take advantage of that, right? So I'm just
Why
literally
not?
taking advantage of you, right?
No, well, I'm used to it. I'm used to it.
Okay.
You know.
Yep.
Actually, that's what the trolls said. They said you were going to take advantage of me.
Yes.
Damn it, they were right.
Hey,
Ah.
you should have listened. Um,
I should look. I should have.
so I mean, I think we both kind of agree here that yes, it identifies the cases, but Trump still hasn't quite figured out that his initial response to all of this, when he didn't really have any plans whatsoever, really had a significant impact later on. Had they really knew that, hey, we need to take decisive action now, like other countries were doing, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in now. That's what I
But
personally.
once again, though, that comes down to the problem the way the United States is set up. There's limited powers that he actually has on a federal level to shut things down, to do a lot of things. It comes down to that state level, and that's the problem. See, in Australia, we were lucky. We went into a lockdown pretty quick. That's because the federal government has the authority to do that. The only thing that the federal government didn't have authority to do was have rules between, what borders between states are closed. And we've got some states that closed their borders from the rest of Australia, and they were within their rights to do that. But the actual, as far as here's the rules, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do, and here's the laws that will be enforced, we could do that at a federal level. In the United States, you can't, and it's not the problem. It's part of the problem, but it's not something. It wouldn't matter who was the president. You're going to have that issue, and the problem is you've got Democrats and Republicans who are all trying to play politics because it is a presidential. It's an election year.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrats are not going to do anything that is going to help Trump, and the Republicans, by the same token, a lot of them are just going to fall in line. So there is issues. The other issue you've got is, and this isn't a commentary in any way, shape, or form on the issues being protested, but the protests that happen, all of a sudden you're getting a lot of people in close proximity while there is a highly contagious virus. Guess what's going to happen? It's just going to keep spreading. It's you can't have sporting events. You can't have people into arenas for that reason. So the United States is its own worst enemy. Unfortunately, it's its own worst enemy. And look, it's not to say that we've got it perfect here. We're out of lockdown now where I am. We had a few real difficult months. One of our states, and we were talking about this earlier, one of our states, Victoria, has gone back into a lockdown. There was actually another cluster popped up, and all of a sudden we've had 400 new cases in that state yesterday, and it's rising. But the rest of the country seems to be okay. But and once again, it's because of mass gatherings of people getting together, and then bang, it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you.
that's what's happening. That's what's happening in the US.
Yeah, you're right.
You've got clowns who are going out refusing to wear masks. That's ridiculous. It's considering we don't need to wear masks outside here because we've virtually eradicated the thing. But in Victoria, where there's the issues, masks are compulsory. If you're going out in the United States and you're not wearing a mask in public, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. You are an absolute idiot because
I got a couple. I got a couple of different kinds.
That's good.
Yeah.
But it's not only to stop you getting it, it's also to stop the spread. And the evidence is there that when mass communities are wearing masks, the spread will definitely slow. So, and that baffles me. That's the attitude of of some American people.
Yeah, it's an entitlement type thing. Like they think that, it
is.
You're against my rights. Hey, look, no shirt, no shoes, no service has been around for how long? Why is a mask any difference?
And that's the thing. And it's both sides because you've got people who are saying I'm refusing to wear a mask because it's my right, and then you've got people saying we're going to protest in mass because it's our right. There's Voldemort's out there. Like, let's not.
Well, that's what
kid
happened.
ourselves.
We were doing pretty well. Governor Newsom had locked down bars and restaurants for a while. He decided, okay, it's time to reopen, which again, you have to at certain points.
Hmm.
And everybody lost their minds. Everybody was like having massive parties and going to the beach and just
Yep.
and didn't understand. Look, we're not out of the woods. It's just relaxing some of the things. But no, they went hog wild, and all of a sudden, boom, we're back in
Yeah.
to where we were. Go to Unicorn and says, hey, say hi to your mate for me. Or, hey, actually, it's your mate. Hey, neighbor, because you're actually probably not too far from her. She's
No,
she's Kiwi. Um,
well, that's all right. That's my second favorite country.
by the way, how long does it take to get from like Sydney to New Zealand?
A couple of hours by plane. It's actually it's quicker to get from Sydney to Auckland than it is from Sydney to Perth.
Okay.
So New Zealand was originally meant to be a part of Australia. They were actually meant to be a state of Australia, and Western Australia wasn't meant to be. So it ended up sort of going the other way. So now it's us and the Kiwis. We're very close. We're basically anything we like, they like, and it's just it's like a big brother, little brother kind of thing. It's like America and Canada, but we like each other better.
Yeah, because the Canadians and Americans, we don't really get along. They did attack our White House, right? I mean, so we're never going to let that go. The Nevermore Tavern says, you and Chris are two very good people. Thank you, Jay. I enjoy talking to Chris. Well, this is where it goes off the rails, though. I enjoy talking to Chris every week. and the chats I've had with you have always been good. Thanks for what you guys do. Thank you, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah. We paid him to say that, by the way.
I absolutely, yeah.
I'm just trying to catch up with a little bit of we do pay attention to the live chat here. Psych Guy says, thanks to Trump's response, the people in my community think that testing is a way to get people used to being herded and microchipped by Bill Gates and Satan. I want to move. Oh, God. Can I touch on that for a second? Let me touch on this for a second, because I've been hearing this like chip thing since I was born, right? Pretty much. I mean, because they've had silicon chips for a very long time. I mean, the first transistor was around 1954 or something by Bell Laboratory. So we've had IC chips for quite some time. And I remember, hearing, it's going to be the mark of the beast, and everything was going to be like Satanic Panic back in the 80s. None of this has come to fruition, right? And it's like, hell, it's been 50 years, people. I didn't believe it back then, and I still don't believe it now. Now I'm at the point, if you want to put a chip in my hand that makes my life easier, knock yourself out. Okay?
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it, because they were saying it was going to happen any day, and that was 50 years ago. So I think they're probably wrong on that, right? I think they were kind of mistaken.
But it's like, how many times have we heard the end of the world's coming? It's conspiracy, all the conspiracy crap that's out there. I mean, look, Bill Gates is an incredibly rich man who donates a lot of money to a lot of global causes, and a lot of them are run by the United Nations. So what? He's giving away his money. Good for him. It doesn't mean that he's this evil overlord who's coming into, But I mean, look, a lot of the microchipping, that does come from, certainly the church's revelation. I remember we used to say that when they try and give you the chip in your hand, that's the mark of the beast, and look out for that. That's going to be a sign. And
or the forehead,
RFID chip,
barcodes. I remember. Mr. Serious points out barcodes. They heard, I heard one time were the mark of the beast. It's like any of these people just throwing out things that they want people to believe for no particular reason, right? And by the way,
it's religious. It's religious in the mindset. And a classic example is Bobby Mack, who he actually does a show with Jay from the Nevermore Tavern, and Bobby Mack he will buy into pretty much any conspiracy.
Why?
Why? It's religious. It's the way he explains it, the mental gymnastics he does, and it's actually been an interesting experiment to listen to it. And I know Bobby in the real world, and he's a great guy. We'll go out and have a beer, and he's really good fun to be around. But some of the stuff he believes is batshit crazy, but it's religious. He's doing the same mental backflips that I used to do when I was trying to explain to people why Jesus really rose from the dead. Really, some of this stuff is no more crazy than what the majority of people believe, and we have a part of our brain that it's evolved with religion. Essentially, it's we're a social species, and part of the reason we survived is because we're able to make things up. We make up borders, we made up currency, we made up gods, we made up explanations for why lightning was coming down. It's part of our evolutionary makeup. It's not something that we can necessarily just turn off. Even though there's some of us that that don't believe. I mean, there's probably things I believe or values I hold that I do mental gymnastics on that I don't realize. I think we all do it. It's part of that tribal thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was speaking about before with how people have got their side for politics. It becomes tribal. It's, my side is everything is right that my side does. Everything bad that the other side does. And I tell you what, almost with the American election, I've actually got a bit of a wish for what happens. I actually hope that Joe Biden wins the electoral college and Trump wins the popular vote, because I want to see the same people who made the complaints about the popular vote last time. You watch it; it will flip. It will
Absolutely.
flip. Yeah. And it's because it's a tribal thing. And I can mark my words. Absolutely, mark my words. The Trump supporters will be saying Trump won the electoral vote. He was screwed. And the Biden people will be going, that's the system we've got, that's the rules it is, and this is the way it should be.
We've seen that happen, not specifically with those things, but we've seen other people do flips like that. Like, they say one thing, and all of a sudden, when it no longer fits what they think or believe, they just discount everything they've said before, right? And run with some new
mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is a really good example. Okay, so in the United States, it's the Republicans who are against the right wing that's against the mail-in voting, because it's probably not going to
the mail-in ballots, sure,
the right wing. In Australia here, we've got we're talking about doing that for council elections, and we've actually got our left-wing party going, no, it's no good, it won't work. So it's all what suits the political agenda at the time. But the thing is, people get so tribal with it, and it's how we are. It's like if you go to a sporting event and your team's playing, you're going to automatically like people who are wearing the same jersey as you, if it's the jersey for your team, and you're automatically going to dislike people who are wearing the other side. They're the enemy.
Well, it's more
who we
than
are.
that. At a sporting event, for example, if you see a penalty, if you see a foul on the play or something like that, and your team is the one benefits for it, you're going to be rooting it on. But if you see the same thing and the other team benefits for it, you don't say
absolutely
anything, right? I mean, this is exactly what happens, right? You don't see people exactly rooting for now. Even if you're not rooting, and I get that, right? You shouldn't be rooting for your team you don't want. I get that, right? But to say, I think the hypocrisy comes in when you say, "Hey, Chris, hey, was that that was a foul, right? I mean, it clearly was a foul, and you're for the other team, and you're like." Or you're like, no, it wasn't a foul. You're like, wait a minute, it was the same thing that happened last week, and it was a foul when it wasn't your team. That's hypocrisy, right? You don't have to root for it.
Don't worry,
but at least admit I've still got
hang-ups. I've still got hang-ups about the 1999 grand final. So
not going to get over that, are you?
The rugby league grand final. No, never going to. And every time I watch it, I still get angry and say that's wrong. The referee, the bloody referee. I still, and you know what? If I were to look at it with an objective point of view, I may have a different opinion, which I never will, because my team was robbed, and I maintain that. But it's how we work, and the same thing happens with politics, and I think a lot of the danger, and this is actually I'm going to deviate a little bit, but I think it's a good point into what we've been talking about, and talking about the way the media reports and things. When the media is falsely reporting narratives, what happens is people buy into these narratives. So you'll have, it's the whole masks are bad thing. Now Trump has never actually come out and said masks are bad, but the media has reported that or implied that. They're implying that he's saying there's no problems here when. I watched one of his press conferences earlier, and he's saying we have problems, and
he's totally flipped on that.
Yeah, it's interesting that the way that people react, even though most people know that the media is full of shit, it's interesting that people will still react to those narratives that are put out there and buy into those narratives and make decisions based on those narratives.
I agree. Totally agree. Ayamoon says, personally, I think this hypothetical mark of the beast is fingerless gloves with a toboggan inside while streaming. Because only batshit crazy can do that. I don't disagree with you. If there's ever a mark of the beast, it's certain people. But I was going to say earlier, I didn't get a chance. That I've actually survived, I think, 75 world-ending events in my life, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
Well done.
Yeah, something like that.
Well done.
You get a free coffee, I think, after the 30th or something that I never collected. Right? I remember the first one. It was 19... Okay, I'm going to pull this out here, so hopefully... But I think it was around 1976 or 1978. There was one called the Jupiter effect. Do you remember that? The planets were all supposed to line up in some kind of, alignment or superior conjunction, which actually was happening. Was supposed to happen in the 80s or something like that. But they were all preparing for it, saying, "Oh, the combined gravitational force of all these planets on the same side of the Earth is going to, have these massive effects." And even back as a kid, I'm like, "This is stupid. That's not going to happen." I remember that. I was like, "This is stupid." But that was.
Remember the Y2K bug?
Oh, absolutely.
That was going to kill us all. Society and civilization was going to collapse.
I was right on that one too. I actually said, look, this was after a time where I actually knew a little about computers. I mean, I didn't study COBOL language, but I understood enough about COBOL that some of the banks were using COBOL. And I said, look, the most of what's going to happen is that you might have a VCR that doesn't have the correct time or something like that. And the banks are going to have to, come up with a, new coding system because, of course, it doesn't have the ability to carry the 2000, right? So, okay, big deal, right? I mean, it's just, I said they've been preparing this stuff for ages. It's not going to have like planes falling out of the sky. You're not going to have nuclear missiles all of a sudden just launching, right? Because there was people trying to tell me this. I remember this. People were like on AOL.
It was going to be Judgment Day. Yeah. I knew people who went and panic bought. They've probably still got all the cans now, 20 years later, because the world was going to win.
Yeah,
they were absolutely convinced. And the 21st of December, 2012, that was the other one. That
was the Mayan. Yeah, the Mayan.
Yeah. Now the Mayans couldn't predict that their society was going to collapse and they wouldn't be around in 2012, but somehow they had the foresight to know that.
Figure that logic out, right? I mean, it's like,
give me a break. I mean, but the thing is, how many people buy into it?
A lot more than I expected. Yes.
And that's part of the mental gymnastics that people will do when they want to believe something or they hold a particular belief. And look, it doesn't mean that people are stupid, because I mean, it's just the way that this is how we've evolved.
But that's why you have shows like ours to help them get out of that. I know. Right? And I'm not trying to get people out of religion or deconvert them. That's not my shtick. Chris knows this. But I do have, a show with Cheshire that we talk about critical thinking, right? I mean, because my position is this. If you have the skills to critically think, learn a little bit about logic, a little bit about reason, just have the ability to have conversations and arguments, you're going to formulate your conclusions at least better and more likely to what corresponds to truth than somebody who's just going to buy into any conspiracy that comes down the pike. I mean, that, to me, that seems to make sense, right? I know it's crazy, but it seems to make sense to me. Okay,
makes sense. Now, I just want to make sure I'm not echoing, am I? Because stupid me, I forgot to charge my headphones, so now I've got it going through my computer speakers. So I want to make sure I'm not echoing.
Nope, sounds good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was like 12 or 13, I'd read In Search of Ancient Astronauts and Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Däniken. I was a kid back then, right? And I was like, oh man, how do we explain Sardonia? How do we explain the space on Mars, right? I mean, okay, I'm a critical thinker. It must be aliens, right? But I wasn't convinced of that, but at least I literally remember going, well, how do you explain the space on Mars? I really didn't have the cognitive abilities.
There's nothing wrong with looking at it and asking those questions.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with saying, all right, well,
I was 12 or something, dude. I mean, again, you change your positions as you learn more, right?
I know people who are adults who still buy into all the Von Däniken, even though a lot of the Von Däniken stuff has been disproven, and really, Ancient Aliens is just kind of like that's a parody of.
Wait, you tell me what they put on the History Channel isn't true? I think that's against the law, isn't it?
Don't get me started on the freaking History Channel. The History Channel, as a historian,
and Discovery.
I hate the History Channel. Oh.
By the way, you're not the only historian that actually says it. As a matter of fact, every historian says that. They're like, what the hell does this channel have to do with history anymore? They get everything wrong. I mean,
they don't even try.
How many different videos have you ever seen on how they discovered the actual Ark, right? Not the Covenant, but the Noah's Ark. They're like, oh look, we discovered Noah's Ark. Oh God, no. Okay.
Yeah, there's a rock out of line on a mountain. Noah's Ark.
Well,
and Ham was right.
Proof positive. Yep. Like I said, you and I might not have the exact same theological opinions, but we both fully agree that the entire flood story, absolutely 100% bullshit. Straight. There's no, I don't believe in it. It is bullshit.
Oh, look,
I believe very. I can tell you right now. I can say it's
no.
I know it's for a fact to be BS.
Yeah. The Noah story is definitely crap. I mean, they basically took that from the Epic of Gilgamesh. Well, actually, they took it from a Babylonian flood myth that was taken from the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, I remember. Was it
it's not a 4,000-year-old story. It was in about 500 BC while the Babylonian captivity was going on. They just basically they needed to get a nationalistic identity. So it's like even King David and Saul and all that. You know what? They were probably small regional leaders. They weren't these great glorious kings that the Queen of Sheba just desperately had to go and mate with. It's
I totally believe that. I mean, I believe there's probably local flooding because of the Nile, but I definitely think that the story of Epic of Gilgamesh, there's a lot of correlations. And by the way, I don't get into the zeitgeist thing, so straight up, it's, this whole Jesus and stuff. That's crap.
Zeitgeist uses some things that are founded in reality, but then puts a conspiracy twist on them, and it's rubbish. So
we agree. We agree wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah, and look, there's half a chance that the Epic of Gilgamesh was copied from something. It's just the Epic of Gilgamesh happens to be the oldest flood story.
Well, the Mayans have one too. It's called the Popol Vuh, which is there's a great deluge. I don't know if you ever looked at the Mayan Codex, but there's something called the Popol Vuh, which is very similar. It's all these types of stories. So I think there's a correlation. But again, I don't want to get into the whole zeitgeist thing because again, everybody I've ever talked to that knows anything about history and all that topics they've all said it's crap, and I agree.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on a little bit. We're almost at the hour mark, so we got to get to the good stuff.
All right. So we also want to talk about real quick about the Betsy DeVos interview. So CNN had an interview with Betsy DeVos. So Dana Bash was her name. She had an interview with Betsy DeVos, who's the Secretary of Education. By the way, how she got that job, long story, unqualified, has no idea what she's doing as far as being a teacher, an educator, administrator, no skills whatsoever. I don't remember what her background was, but it has nothing to do with education. Absolutely.
Well, the DeVos family, they're the ones behind Amway.
Was it Amway?
Yeah, they're Amway. Yeah.
Okay, so the MLM type stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so long story short on this, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but long story short is that I was watching this video, and I'm not going to play the video because CNN is really crazy about it, you playing their videos. But the interviewer, Dana, was asking Betsy DeVos, okay, so you want to open up the schools, okay? The President Trump wants to open up the schools. How are you going to do this? What plans do you have to make this happen? And every time she asked this question, Betsy DeVos had no answer to it and obfuscated like I've never seen before. She basically was talking about completely irrelevant stuff. She's like, well, we've developed, we're going to be, in fact, I actually have the transcript. Like, this is actually
I'm just quickly looking at the transcript now.
Let me get to the actual transcript here because
a lot of it, to be honest, looks like just usual political mumbo jumbo, and answering with the non-answer in the way that they want to for the soundbite. Look, I'll speak a little bit on schools because we opened our schools here.
I did have it here.
And we actually haven't had any cases that I'm aware of come through schools. We've had people who have been linked to. So we've had schools shut down because someone in the school, maybe a teacher or a family of a student has tested positive, and that school gets shut down for 2 weeks. But we opened our schools up. Look, we had 2 months of lockdown, opened the schools up after that, and we've had. I don't think we've had any transmissions through the schools. It does look as though children contract it in a different way. They're certainly asymptomatic, but it looks as though that they're also less likely to contract it, and they don't pass it on at the same rate, which is amazing considering if you've ever seen kids, they don't know what social distancing is.
No, of course not.
I know within our schools normally the parents would drop the kids into the school. Now we have to drop them at the gate. They're walked into the school. Adults aren't allowed in. So they've got some strict.
Oh yeah, we have that here. When I first moved down here, I would pick my daughter up from school. Most of the time, not all the time. Her mom would do it too, but I mean, we kind of traded off, right? And basically, you stand outside the school grounds with the other parents. You have a chain link fence. The custodial, janitor, whoever person in charge, they come, they unlock it, and the kids leave. Right? That's how it is here. But she had asked her. So she says, so yes or no? And again, this is how I ask questions too. Yes or no? Most of the time, simple questions can be answered with simple answers. And she says, so yes or no, can you assure students, teachers, parents that they will not get Voldemort because they're going back to school? It's a simple question, right? What have you done to implement procedures to make sure that children are safe? Again, all she had to do was answer, well, we're going to have less people in the schoolroom. We're going to have, different stagnated times. Kids can go get their books. You could probably think of 1,000 different ways, kids still wearing some kind of mask. Whatever it is, she could have come up with some answer to what their plans are to reopen the schools. And by the way, I kind of think, at least where I'm at, Voldemort has pretty much changed the landscape of education forever.
I think so here too.
Yeah, I think that at least in the foreseeable future. Maybe the next decade or so. We seriously have changed. Life has changed as we know it, right?
Yeah. See, the thing is, and I'm looking at this. Okay, now the yes or no answer. It's a very simple no. She can't guarantee it. But here's the thing. She comes out and says, no, we can't guarantee it, but here's what we're doing and lists the steps they're going to take. What's the what's the headline going to be? Betsy DeVos admits they can't keep kids safe in schools.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
And once again, because of the way the media reports things, that's why you get these political non-answers. I know whenever I've had to give a political answer, you've always got to think about exactly what you're saying, because the problem is that you can say the same thing 10 times, but then that one little variation, bang, there's their sound.
Oh, well, dude, my toxic fandom has been doing that to me for years, right? And by the way, when you're telling, here's a fun fact. When you're telling the truth, stories are almost always the same, but you might have a little variation here and there because you recall different details, you say things a different way. That's normal. That is actually normal of somebody who's actually telling the truth. But yeah, they'll latch onto that one variant, right?
Unless the media's involved. And both sides do it. When I say both sides, all media seems to be doing it at the moment, because at the end of the day, are you going to click onto a link that says Betsy DeVos has 10-step plan for getting kids back to school, or DeVos admits they can't keep kids safe?
It's a headline.
What link are you going to click on?
Yeah, it's a headline grabber. That's all it is.
And what? And as much as I blame the media, I blame society as well, because if people weren't clicking on the links.
Well, and that's the kind of culture we have, right? If you ever watch Black Mirror, they pretty much point out all the things in society like that. And, but she could have said, look, we're going to have like plexiglass there. We're going to do this. But I still think virtual schooling is probably the way to go. You've seen, like the future where kids sit in little cubicles by themselves and they have a TV screen. I don't know. It's going to be something like that one day, right?
Yeah, I think that's dangerous, because I think kids need the social interaction.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Yes,
there's a big difference. I'm not someone who's, I wouldn't consider myself unintelligent, but let me tell you, having to teach my kids when they were home, that was stressful. That was hard. That was really quite difficult. I've got a lot of respect for what educators do now as a result of that. But they miss those social interactions, and that is so important.
They do.
Look, the reality is, we can't guarantee that anyone is going to be safe from Voldemort. It's the reality that we've got. What we can do is we can take steps to ensure that the spread is a lot lower than it should be. But especially in the United States, where there is such high numbers, unfortunately, it's the reality.
But she didn't even try. She didn't even try to come up with something, man.
What's the point, though? CNN's going to grab the headline. And look, I'm not sticking up for her, because I think the way I'm reading through the transcript and what she's put in there, it's basically this political double.
This has to like have more information to even be a non-answer. It's that bad, right? Because she says, well, the key is that kids have to get back to school, blah blah blah. She never answered the question. Real quick, Super Mommy 76.
I think what would have been interesting, because obviously this is a CNN interview. If there was a Fox interview where they're going to give her the friendlier headline, maybe she's going to be a little bit more open.
Possibly
with that.
Super Mommy
Possibly.
says, this is why we love Steve. He teaches us to use critical thinking. I saved a bunch of sanity in my life plan by switching to Steve. By the way, I think she actually means that, because I do know who she is, and I do know her story. And I said, Mommy, if you when you came out of this community and you saw that this is actually what we do, contrary to what people have been saying about us, and she took the time to actually go, hey, this is actually good stuff, and she stuck around. She's now a member and stuff like that. That means more to me than 99% of the crap that I deal with is that one person even comes around and says, hey, you know what? I'm sticking around because this is actually good, right? I mean, we got math stuff, we got philosophy
Amazing,
stuff,
isn't
we
it?
got political stuff, we have, critical thinking stuff, we have, cooking stuff. I don't know. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, actually, I do remember when Chesh took over and she was cooking. So yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so enough about this. It's just that basically I wanted to just kind of show on this because if you go read the transcript or go watch the video or go watch the interview, she never does answer anything, right? She really never answers anything, and it just was to me such a non-interview. And I don't blame the interviewer, right? I mean, it wasn't her fault by any means. She asked some great questions. But when you're talking to the Secretary of Education, and the Secretary of Education says, look, we have to reopen schools, and the key is getting kids back to go to school. But as you said, can't just come out and say, look, but we got no plan for it. But, I don't know why she would even do these interviews.
And look, I'll say something too, and I know that I'm very cynical of the media, okay, and I'm probably too cynical of the media sometimes, and I probably, maybe I don't give them enough credit. Where there are good journalists, there are good interviewers out there, but there's just so much garbage at the moment, and I don't want to do the whole fake news because I think that's overdone. But it's just I do have a fairly cynical view, so I guess I'll give myself that disclaimer out there. Take what I say with a grain of salt, but what I always encourage people to do is, look at the source, who's writing it, what their track record is, who they're speaking to, and what's being said. Because reading through this, it's just political doublespeak.
I agree. All right. So, anyways, let's get kind of shift gears here a little bit. Chris, there's a lot of stuff going on the Twitterverse, right? I'm going to be doing something on Friday. I had asked people today on a poll. Should I do? I'm just trying to do this controversial thing called controversy. Again, it's just something to talk about. And I was going to do the controversy on a particular atheist leader for atheist organization using a certain word and how it's been affecting people and the whole 9 yards. Which, by the way, people might be surprised on my input of that. Again, I haven't really solidified an actual position per se, but I'm getting all sides.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Okay. And Chris said, this goes a lot to cancel culture, and I was like, yeah, and so cancel culture has been a pretty prevalent topic on Twitter recently, and for some reason Chris seems to have a lot to say on that. That he was like, oh, let's kind of talk about that. I was like, what can go wrong there? We get canceled.
I do have an opinion or two. Cancel culture is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. If you aren't able to engage with people and listen to other opinions, including opinions you disagree with, then you live in a bubble. Now, you don't have to listen to what someone says and then jump on board or even like what they says. You don't even have to accept it. You can certainly argue the other side. But the whole cancel culture narrative and the Twitter pylon it's ridiculous. So I'm going to briefly do this as much as I can, but I want to give a bit of context. And I'm going to use 3 examples, 2 of my own and 1 recently. So when I first came into the atheist community, still trying to find my feet and, trying to engage with people, all these new people around, trying to find my way in there, trying to have honest conversations. There was a particular, and I'm not going to name this person, people can determine or work out who it is if they want. I'm no interest in starting.
It's not me though. That's all that matters. It just isn't.
It's not you. It's not you. When I first told this story, everyone thought it was you. I was like, no, it's not.
I remember that. I was like, really, really? Does it even sound like me?
Yep.
I was like, okay, whatever.
So what had happened was there was a comment that was made about a prominent atheist YouTuber. I'll put it that way. And I made a comment, I can't remember exactly what it was, along the lines of, you know what, I really used to like this YouTuber's stuff, but I found that they're delving too much into the politics and it's really just unbiased stuff and it's repetitive and I'm just sick of hearing it. So I haven't watched for a while. Now, this particular YouTuber decided to take a shot at me over this. And we're talking someone with a very large following. All of a sudden, the pile on to me It just hit me from every angle. I got called everything. It was insane, and I'd never experienced anything like this. And I'm just like, hang on, this entire community hates me. Now I've got a pretty thick skin, but my reaction was, you know what, maybe I should just walk away. I ended up sending this YouTuber a message saying, hey, we're on the same side here. I was offering an opinion, didn't mean to offend you, and it seemed to smooth it over. And all of a sudden, all the nasty messages I was getting stopped, coincidentally. But it's
I never experienced anything like that from that particular person that I happened to write a blog open letter to. I didn't experience anything like that. Oh no.
Yeah, so
there's sarcasm
not
there,
saying,
by the way.
Not saying, I'm not going to confirm or deny who it is, but it's garbage, and people with large followings need to be mindful of the fact that when you go after someone who doesn't have that, you've got people who are going to jump on and attack, and that can be, and look, like I said, I got a thick skin, and I can, a lot of that I can just kind of go, yeah, whatever. But even I was sort of going, holy wow, this is insane. My phone's going off, and I'm just like, what have I done? I made a comment that I don't necessarily like their political opinion. Anyway, that was number one. Number two, I was in a group, an atheist group, and conversations were going on, and it was all of a sudden it was just Bash Trump Day, and I made the comment, look, be careful because, and use the little boy the boy who cries wolf analogy. It's be careful because this kind of stuff actually feeds into his narrative of fake news. All of a sudden, I got one particular person who I'm not going to say their name because I've now got a larger following than this person, and I would be doing exactly what I just.
I mean, you're not a hypocrite. Wow, that's
well, I probably am, but
okay.
In this case, I'm going to make it look like I'm not.
You do you. You do you.
Anyway, this person decided that a result of my comment, I was a transphobic fascist who was out to particularly get them. Even after I said, "Hey, look, I'm not American. I don't vote either way. It's you do what you do." I was offering an opinion. Once again, new to the community. Anyway, the pile-on that started, it was insane. It was absolutely insane. And once again, I'm just like, I don't need this. I don't need to be a part of this community. Fortunately, it was people like, Jane from Nevermore, Jen from Jen's Little Corner that sort of went, hey, just don't worry. They're just,
you mean
this
like
is what they
actually
do.
rational people that aren't complete assholes?
There's this whole other community over here, and we're normal people. And it's like,
normal people, cool. They do exist, right?
Yeah. And funnily enough, this person who actually had the big carry-on made a comment on something that I put on Twitter the other day, and I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to bite back this time and actually sort of hit them between the eyes with, hey, this is what you did to me when I first came into the community, so screw you. Now, there was an incident the other day, and I am going to call someone out here because this person certainly has a bigger following than me, and this person certainly has a bigger following than the person they attacked, and that's a YouTuber by the name of Godless Cranium. Godless Cranium decided that he would have a go at a good friend of mine and relatively new YouTuber, Ed, guy who goes by the name of Grumpy Old Dude. If you haven't subscribed to Grumpy Old Dude as well, go and show that guy some love. He's a former white supremacist, so he ended up in jail and found himself tied in with, which I guess can happen when you go to jail with that group. But he's come out of that now, and he's making it his mission to basically put an end to racism. He made a comment which I thought was actually an accurate comment. And all of a sudden, the Twitter pile-on from this Godless Cranium douchebag that started because Ed wasn't going in with the groupthink. They just attacked him, and all the minions, they came after Ed. And you know what? It's basically trying to push him out of the community, trying to cancel him. Now, this is a guy who is putting out some good and important content, someone who is new to the community, and certainly someone who is at a power disadvantage when it comes to someone like Godless Cranium. So I'm going to call out stuff like that. Now, fortunately, Ed, because I'm in a couple of groups with Ed. Ed was, I'm done. I'm out of this. I can't deal with this. I don't need this in my life. And Ed's a tough guy. I mean, Ed spent time in jail. Ed's not a pushover. But the effect that it had was he was ready to walk away, which would have been a damn shame because he is putting out some really cool content. Unfortunately, we were sort of able to go, come on, Ed, it's all good. Calm the situation down. And we're hoping that Ed's finally going to put out content now. But this is an issue that's happening. This whole cancel culture pile on Twitter crap. It's gutless. Plenty of people are very brave from behind an anonymous name behind a keyboard, and people will say stuff that they would never say to anyone's face. Certainly, I can imagine that this godless cranium certainly wouldn't have the fortitude to say it to Ed to his face, because it'd probably knock him on his backside. And I don't know how big or small this person is. In fact, I've never interacted with this person apart from having seen the Twitter pile-on that they caused to a friend of mine. So I am going to, so that's something I am going to call out as a specific circumstance. And I didn't want to use this platform to go after anyone, but in this case, screw that guy. But it is an issue. And actually, Jay from Nevermore's just put in there, it took him a long phone call with Ed to bring him back and to keep up the fight, because they hit him hard.
Can I put my 2 cents in there real quick?
Go for it.
All right, so it's a couple things. First of all, hey, huge props to somebody that has a background like that, decides to do something productive and good. Those are the people we need to cultivate, right? Those are the people you want in a community. You don't hold somebody's past against them if they make amends and they try to do better. Those are the people you want to help.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So
he's
let's
a
get
good
that
guy. Good guy.
We put his Twitter in there, so people go subscribe to his Twitter.
Yeah.
Can I tell him that Chris and Steve sent it? Yeah. No, was that bad? I don't know if you could do. Again, if it's a nice thing, yeah. I think you may like it. I don't know.
Do it. Say okay. Chris and Steve sent me. It's show the guy some love, because he needs some love.
All right, nothing wrong with that, I don't think. So here's the thing, God's cranium. A long time ago, we actually used to get along. But then he started having this woke narrative and just went off the deep end of wokeness that I wanted nothing to do with. And I did not agree with him. And because I didn't agree with him, it was straight up cancel culture, right? Steve is a bigot. Steve is a transphobe, none of which was true. But it didn't matter, right? These are words that people use as a weapon rather than talk about what we're wanting to talk about, right? I mean, it was like, wait a minute here. There's a discussion to be had here. There's nothing bigoted about this, nothing transphobic about this, nothing racist about this, nothing any of this, right? None of us have any of those predilections. None of us. I mean, none of us are racists or bigots or homophobes. Nobody here, in my live chat, I think is. No, I couldn't imagine any of them. This is not a channel for that kind of diatribe. So to use those types of words as weapons just to shut down conversation, to us, he recused himself from any rational dialogue, right? And so just recently, somebody had posted a little small short video of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, where these guys, and by the way, it's a very elite type of military that do the changing of the guard with the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and they go through this rigorous procedures of the guns, inspecting, and it's all choreographed. And the reason they do this is, again, it is attention to detail, right? To honor the fallen that have, the remains have never gotten sent back to the States and they've never been identified. That's what it's for, right? It is to honor people that have given their lives to this country for his right to say whatever he wants. I mean, that's he's allowed to. But he basically, denigrated the ceremony by trying to say, oh, well, something about what are they doing this for with death? They're just what exactly did he say? I hate misquoting.
He said they're twirling death sticks.
Yeah, just twirling death machines or something, right? Yeah. And it was very disrespectful, especially to anybody who's been in the military, because all of us who've been in the military, and I hate bringing this up, we've all put our lives on the line. Simple as that. There's
absolutely.
I remember a couple times where I was like, yeah, we're going to die, whatever. Even though I didn't see combat per se, we were in combat zones.
Is because of people who have made those sacrifices.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I called that out, and other people had called that out, and it was very disgusting, right? Because again, it's not call out, and I mean that in a different way, right? We weren't calling out as in call out culture, and I want to make that very clear, because somebody's going to twist it and go, "Oh, look, Steve's talking about cancel culture, but he's calling him out." No, I never asked for anybody to not subscribe to him, nobody to not watch his stuff. That's call out culture, right? What I said was he is just a vile, disgusting human being, in my opinion, for some of the things he has done and how he has destroyed actual dialogue by being this woke warrior. I'm okay with that. I stand by everything I've ever said about that, right? But to see him do these things like to your friend, the old Oh, grumpy dude.
Grumpy old dude.
Yeah, I've seen this happen with other people. I've seen other people. I didn't see this particular thing, no offense, but I've seen it happen with other people. That is the mentality. If you don't agree with me, you're a bigot. You don't agree with me, you're this. If you don't agree with me, we're going to send legions of people to go over to your channel, right?
Yep.
I've had to block so many people that instead of coming over and say to me, hey, Steve, I don't agree with you on this. Can we talk about it? They come over and leave a message. You're just you're a piece of crap, blah, 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 whatever. And just, I don't know if you watched the episode we did the other day on Caffeine Corner with Cheshire and I, but we did one.
3 a.m.
Oh yeah, time zones. Well, we did something on the hierarchy of conversations, right? We did something on Graham's hierarchy of having a response to different types of things. It starts off at base level, which is like base level, just like throwing out an insult kind of thing, right? You're just stupid, And as you progressively get more and more responsive, and to the very top would be basically, this is what you say. I disagree with you. Here's why I disagree with you. Here's the evidence you're incorrect, and the evidence I'm correct, right? That kind of dialogue is fine. Those people generally don't get blocked, right? Why would they get blocked, right? So it's how you approach the conversations. But I have been piled on. Chris has been piled on. And I've seen it happen to other members of the community. And I'm sorry, Chris, but the atheist community is one of the worst for this. I don't see theists doing this as much. And by the way, they don't get along and they don't agree with each other, but I don't see theists really calling out to cancel other theists that often as much as I do with the atheist community.
I'll stick up for the atheist community a little bit, because I think it's just there's certain voices who have got a platform within the atheist community. The majority of the atheist community, I mean, look, there's people who, and look, had this person, even the comment that he made, you know what, I disagree with him. I'm happy to have that conversation. I've no interest in actually engaging with him. But if I did want to, I'd be happy to have that conversation. And I also say it's as someone who is into free speech, he's entitled to that, or I assume, I don't know what they identify as. So they are entitled to hold any belief they want. I don't have to like it. I don't have to engage with it. I can choose to hit the block button, and that's fine. Where I do see the problem, though, is when someone disagrees and you have a channel with, 30,000 people or something like that on it, and you go after someone who has got 100 people on it, and you knowingly watch as your minions go and attack that person and just absolutely denigrate them and beat them to the point where they want to leave the community.
I'm not going to mention names on this, but I've had a mutual friend of yours and I. Actually, that happened to. They literally wanted to leave the community because how bad they were treated, merely because they didn't agree with what people were saying. They were actually on my side for a lot of things. They were sticking up for me, but they were browbeaten to the point they actually had to say, and they told me, Steve, I totally believe you on all this stuff, but I had to tell them something just so they would lay off me.
Yep.
And by the way, no ill will to that person for doing it. I get it. I really do. I don't even fault them in the remote, right? Because, this person, I'm not saying they don't have a thick skin. They do, but I mean, it just wasn't they didn't need to get involved in that. And I totally understand, right? But this is what I see happen so frequently with people is that if they go after you, like you said, these big platform people, people know that, like, for example, like the ACA, right? There's people in the ACA I really like. I mean, I like Eric Murphy. Objectively, Dan seems cool. I got an ACA mod in the live chat. Get along with. I like their Discord. I mean, they not a problem, right? But there's certain people that I don't get along with. But the ones I don't get along with, none of those people have conversations with me. The people I get along with, oh look, they have conversations. We talk about these things. We agree. We don't agree. Great. But the ones that shut down the conversation, the one that says, hey, look, Steve, he's a mean poopy head and he's wrong by fiat. Don't believe anything he says about philosophy. But then you ask him, well, what is he getting wrong here? And then you say, do you have any philosophers that disagree with him? And if they do, what are they saying? And they just bugger off like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Steve's wrong. And this the whole comes from a community where evidence is supposed to be king, right? And I'm not even an evidentialist, but still, I expect there to be reasons for something.
By the same token, these people don't have to like you.
No.
People, you know what? It's okay. And I say this. People don't want to like me. Okay, it's up to them. Not everyone's going to like me. I don't like everyone. That's life. I don't care. But if you're going to have a go at someone, at least be able to back yourself. At least have reason. Don't just go, I don't like them.
Well, but go about the arguments too. If you had a position I don't agree with, I'd rather talk about your position. This is why the people that come to me in DM. I just recently had somebody, I didn't even know who they were. They were like, that says something to the effect where I'm blocked on my main account, so you don't really know who I am. But this is another account that I have, and you're talking to me on Twitter, and I don't want to be a problem because we blocked each other, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, what did we block each other over? And we ended up having a civil dialogue, right? And then I had another person on Twitter say just recently, people are all saying stuff about Steve. I went to him in DM to talk to him, and he was actually really funny and humorous and nice. Go figure.
Amazing, isn't it?
Come at me with a normal personality, and maybe we can have a discussion, right?
It's very easy for people to, especially anonymously, sit behind a keyboard and insult people and have a go and say things that they would never ever say to someone's face. Not out of a fear of being knocked on their backside, but just because it's you just don't do it. But people just have this instant bravado. It's they the legion of keyboard warriors. Look out, they're coming after you. But by the same token, the effect that can have on the person who's on the receiving end,
it's dangerous.
Huge.
It's mentally people.
It is.
Yeah, people get mentally unwell because of these types of attacks.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, it's worse than that because when in the call out culture, God, I got a little itch. By the way, I'm not picking my nose. I do have a little itch. And I don't know why.
As long as you don't eat it afterwards, that's
oh man, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna go for it. Just let me get out of the way.
have fun.
So there's when people have this call out culture. It usually involves online shaming, right? It usually involves things like, oh, you know what? I don't like your argument, so I'm going to find personal information about you to shame you with. Like that includes doxing, that includes harassment. Just recently, somebody tried to actually revenge porn Cheshire, and the funniest thing was it wasn't even her.
What?
Right? And yet these are the people that are accusing us of doing these things that we never do. Right? I wouldn't even cross my mind to do something like that.
Who the hell does this kind of stuff? I mean, how sick and how twisted do you need to be to do that? I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Come on.
The people that we've been warning people about for years, right? This is why we left these people years ago. They've been one cancerous tumor's growth.
Telling me how evil and nasty you are. Like, give me a friggin' break.
And by the way, did I not tell you straight up? If any of them have any evidence that supports anything that they say, go ahead, take your bet. Look at it. I want people to.
None of them ever sent me a thing. All they wanted to do was get me into a Discord for a private chat. I'm just like, I don't have time.
So why is that though? Why is it that I'm like, look, if you want to play the evidence game, sure, let's play the evidence. Find me one case of me doing anything that these people have ever accused me of, because it never has happened. I don't dox people. I certainly would never even think about doing revenge porn. And by the way, people don't seem to understand what doxing is. Look, if I like, for example, Chris, when you first came in the community under Atheist Pastor, I don't think you actually used your name, did you?
No, I didn't until I got threatened with doxing because I've got I've got involvement in business organisations and politics and things like that, and Google my name if you really want to know. And someone in the real world implied that because I do this atheist pastor stuff, it mightn't be particularly good for my political stuff. It was a bit of a veiled threat, so I just went, you know what, screw it, and I doxed myself. So, and I made that decision. Ironically, it actually hasn't really made any positive or negative effect. It's probably got me in a few more doors as far as being able to talk to people, and that's it.
Yeah, and I've always used my real information. What I didn't have was my address out there for a while, because when I first moved here, I didn't have my address. And it's funny that I had an old video from a hangout that people literally have gone and watched my old stuff just to see if they could find anything. I've had people do background checks on me just to see if they can find things on me. There was investigatory things that people were doing, and they were just, anybody on the internet, let's go find stuff on them, right? By the way, I don't have anything on me. Wait, save your money. But
incidentally, I ran federal parliament. If anyone was going to find anything, they would have found it when I was actually running for a major political party. So good luck.
Who says we haven't found anything on you? Just saying. Here's the reality of it. That's when people are using that information to harm somebody, right? They're using that information like, okay, let's get Chris's real name to harm him. That's what this cancel culture is. It's, look, you don't want to say anything out of line, because if you do, we're going to find something on you. We're going to find dirt on you. We're going to try to publicly shame you, try to publicly humiliate you. That's what culture is. And you know what I see? I see it from other people that I don't associate with. If I had anybody in my life that was doing that in real life, I would not associate with those people. That includes Cheshire. That includes Reds. That includes Bullinator, which, by the way, is unimaginable because
Just not me. Just not me.
you I'd still buy hang with. But
Yeah.
but I mean, still, this is so funny because this call out culture is prevalent. It exists. We've seen it, and it does exist in the atheist community. I'm sorry, especially because I hate to do my little spiel, but 10, 15 seconds. When you have a community that sits there and tells you that the only reason they have a community is because they all don't believe in God, that's not a cohesive thing. I'm sorry. Yes, it puts all the people under that tent, and that's why I think it's a really stupid way to think about atheism. Chris actually here has the belief that there are no gods. But, I mean, it's not really cohesive, and you're going to have that problem when a bunch of people start realizing, well, you know what, we have really nothing else in common. Matter of fact, I don't even like you kind of thing, right?
No, and that's it. I mean, realistically, most people just identify it as a lack of belief in God. Now, why I think it can be important is because I think a lot of people will get out of religion, for instance, and what will happen is when they get out of religion, they lack that community. And I think it's good to have that sense of community as well. But the reality is that's what the atheist community is. Now, I guess my version of the atheist community and the people I associate with isn't everyone, obviously, who holds a different, who holds a lack of belief or however they want to define it. It's the community and group of friends that I've happened to find in the community. We hold some similar beliefs. We've got a lot of differences in belief, but we're just people who are decent and get on.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't have an issue with that. I really don't.
And I've seen people come and go. There's people who I've been in groups with and associated who I haven't particularly liked. There's people who I've gotten on with, through gritted teeth just for the sake of other friends. It's like any social group or social organization. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, and again, I really don't have a problem with that. Again, there's a lot of atheist channels that I support, and it's kind of funny because you hear people say, well, look at Steve. I've had people accuse me of literally ripping apart the atheist community. I'm like, look, I don't have that kind of empowerment, okay? Don't give me that kind of power. I will abuse it. But I don't have it, right? So it's kind of odd when people sit there and say, look, Steve's arguments are tearing apart the atheist community. Instead of saying that, why don't you say, what is it about Steve's arguments that are supposedly tearing apart the community, right? But they can't do that.
I can tell you, it's not you who's tearing apart. It's people like that godless cranium and the prominent YouTuber who went after me that are tearing communities apart and driving people out of the community. You know what? I know a lot of people who don't want to even come in and engage with the atheist or secular community because they see how toxic it is from the outside.
You're preaching,
and you know what? I can't argue with that sometimes. And I want to because I really want to see this grow because I think one thing religion does well is religion unites and gets stuff done. And I think we need to do that from a secular point of view, even if we disagree on stuff. But you know what? There's people who are more interested in using atheism to ally for every other bloody cause that's out there.
Exactly.
And attack anyone who doesn't follow their and sorry for the facts, but they're far left social justice warrior woke bullshit.
Yep, atheism plus did not work. Let me read the super chat. Let me got Mikey on here. I'm sure he wants to add stuff because he's a big fan of cancel culture, isn't he? So real quick, Mike, hang on. Golden Unicorn, 20 more New Zealand. She says they make fun of my accent and cut video clips of me and misrepresent me. Call me female version of Chad and discuss my virginity. Call me similar to a spoiled person who survives on her parents' money, even though I earn my own money. By the way, they literally, I swear to you, I'm not even exaggerating, just I think it was yesterday, in response to Manya, who happens to be of Indian descent that lives in New Zealand, mocked her for her accent as if she was, she sounds like somebody from a phone, what is it?
Seriously?
Yeah, a call and help thing, right? Computer help person or something like that.
You know what? That is racist bullshit, and it amazes me these woke fucking heroes.
But these are the people that were complaining about us.
Anyone who sneezes in the wrong direction, but it's okay for them. It's sexism, racism doesn't apply when you're a social justice warrior.
Exactly.
Apparently.
Oh, but and again, gotta get Mikey in here. Like for example, they actually said literally that Cheshire wasn't a real woman. And that she was traitor to her gender.
How sick is that? I mean, seriously.
I mean, a woke warrior telling somebody that they're not a real woman. Do they not see the hypocrisy here? But anyways, Mikey, my friend.
Greetings, salutations. What up, though?
Hey.
What up? What up? What up, my friend? So,
What's
by the
up?
way, welcome
Nice
to
to
Over
finally
and
meet you,
Under.
Chris.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
Now it's
You
2-on-1
got one of those
because we're
funny
both.
American accents as well, I hear.
By the way,
I
Chris,
do voices, so my accent will shift and switch around all throughout this entire thing. So we'll see.
Fantastic.
We'll see where I land today.
Chris, real quick, you have
Just
two tops right now. So just you're the bottom. Just let you know because he's up here, you're down there, and so we have 2 over and 1 under. Just FYI. So I probably should get Manya in to help you out. Yeah, call center. Thank you, Manya. They said she was like, oh well, she's like a call center for like Steve in tech support or something. It's like, oh come on.
So to put a nice thick twig into the spokes of your Huffy 21 speed, Steve, I'm a woke warrior, and I said something about it.
But you're not okay. But okay, let me explain this. You're not one of those woke warriors. That's a hypocrite. You're actually a woke warrior I can get behind.
So why don't you just call them hypocrites?
Because I use the term woke warrior for to specifically refer to those people that have been for years doing all this nasty stuff they accuse everybody else of doing, rather than just being normal people that will call out things when they see it. I don't think you have to be a woke warrior, as you put it, to actually point out the things that you have pointed out that I've pointed out. Hey, you know what? Don't be a bigot. Don't be a racist. Don't be a homophobe. Don't be a transphobe. It's not complicated. It really is not that hard. You don't need to be a woke warrior for that.
I hate to say it, Steve.
You're fired.
But if that's your viewpoints, you're woke.
God.
So I don't know how to tell you this. I didn't know if on air was the best time, but
you know what?
You've been woke all along.
Damn it.
Steve, the social justice warrior.
That's what I'm saying. Like everyone said, social justice warriors
are not. I'm like
is that why everyone's telling me that Steve's going to cancel me?
And the thing is, like, the social justice warrior kind of like how atheists and feminists and all these different like labels for things get these bad names. I don't think there's anybody I know anybody that I choose to associate with that thinks social justice issues are not important.
Well, no, I agree.
And that they need to be fought over.
There's a difference between and see, I think the way that some of the social justice warrior and look, I don't think anyone who goes and fights for social justice issues, I wouldn't call them social justice warriors. I think it's a term that's for those who are extreme. I think what those people do is they actually do more damage to social justice issues than they do good, because the way that they conduct themselves, the way they act, the way that they overreact to things, I think it turns the majority of people off. And what happens is then the argument and the discussion can never be had, because all they're doing is they're screaming, threatening to cancel people, and really just jumping from one extreme to another. And that has been an issue. The whole cancel culture of cancel anyone who disagrees. Look, if you want to tune out to someone, I've got no problem with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I really don't like what that Steve McRae says. I'm going to unsubscribe from his channel. I'm not going to follow him, and I'm just going to ignore him. Or if I choose to have an argument or a disagreement, I'm going to put that forward. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're mass getting people together to basically, to cancel a bean company because they like the political leader you don't like, to use, I guess, a relevant example, I do see an issue with that. I think people are entitled to have political opinions. One thing that really bugs the crap out of me, especially as a historian, is how people use the term fascist and communist for everything. It's the right of, anyone who's out there protesting, well, they're a communist socialist. Anyone who's to the right of Bernie is a fascist. And having studied what the fascist movement and what communism actually did to people, and the amount of people they killed and the way that they actually ran their countries, let me assure you, Donald Trump is not a fascist. Donald Trump is not. I think that's a leader. He's not a good leader. He's not a fascist. Bernie Sanders is not a communist. Neither is Joe Biden.
Would you say Trump is definitely an authoritarian, though?
No.
Really? So I definitely think he's authoritarian.
I don't think it's possible to be an authoritarian in the way that American politics is structured. You have a look in China. They're authoritarian. North Korea, that's authoritarian. Right. I'd say North Korea and China.
I don't know. We had some overtones of that. I mean, we discussed it last time, or the time before that.
I think it's just a businessman who's used to getting his own way. But
big baby, perhaps,
when you look at it,
because he wants his own way, though. But if he wants his own way, isn't that kind of authoritative? Authoritarian?
That's every political leader. you think Hillary wouldn't have wanted her own way and would have put a foot down on things?
Oh, I'm not saying that she's
every
not.
every leader does. That's why they're leaders. They're there to lead, whether you like them or not.
They're supposed to make the final call at the end of the day,
which is
and
fine.
that is the call because they have won the election. Like I get that, but I think one thing that's kind of underlying with everything that you just said was, if you don't like Steve's videos, you just don't watch them, or you know what I'm saying. But you wouldn't like go a step further and make a response video and put out all these nasty tweets and all that.
No, I think you've got it wrong.
Well,
If you don't like
possibly.
if you don't like my stuff, what you do is you spend 3 years of your life just talking about me every single day and finding anything to slander me with. That's what you do, because that seems to be the fun thing.
So what I noticed, Chris, is like on top of on all of your decisions, there's like a varnish of maturity there. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're just like, is that really worth my time? Do I really need to do that? Well, that varnish of maturity is not mandatory for all people.
No, it's not.
And a lot of them will even go as far as to just sand the shit out of it so that it's a raw, bare wooden surface. You know what I'm saying? And they don't care. And the thing is, they don't have to care. So in this new world that we live in with YouTube and with Twitter and with social media being what it is, if you engage in that, it is the Wild West still.
Oh yeah.
So you don't have to be on social media. You know what I mean? Like, and for some people, even if they are positive, beneficial actors in this play we call life, they're not necessarily guaranteed safety from the wild, wild west. It is what it is. As long as you're allowed to have an account, and you're a big free speech guy, as long as you're allowed to have an account, so are the people that hate you.
And by the way, nobody cares about that. That's fine. There are people that literally just have their entire channel. All they do is make videos on me. I don't watch any of them. They have for a very long time. I don't care. Whatever. Knock yourself out. I've never even said anything about them. Right? That's what they do. Right? I mean, literally, that's what they do.
So then it falls back on to Steve. So Steve can either say, I don't want to make videos anymore because they're just going to make fun of it, or you just kind of have to be the mature adult in the room and be like,
you just do your own thing.
Say and do what you're going to say and do. But when it comes to like threats, I mean, there's legally you can't do that. You can't say I'm going to go to your house and kill you. Like, you can't say that. That's a crime. But as far as people mocking people and saying all this kind of shit, yeah, as soon as they say something nasty to Manya, I have every right to use my Twitter to say something nasty about them, calling them a racist piece of shit.
Yes, you do. You
know what I mean? So we don't.
Which I believe you did, by the way.
Yeah, it was funny because like, that's racist. What a racist asshole. I was like, I almost got the quote exactly.
Yeah. You're right. You can do your platform any way you want, right? I mean, you can respond to these things. You don't have to respond to them. So let me ask you this though. I want to make videos I want to make. I don't respond to negative videos, right? I just don't.
Right.
Unless if somebody that is not a complete piece of garbage human being says, "Hey, Steve, I watched one of your videos. I have some issues with it that I think that I would like to talk about and address." Okay. Then I might be interested, right? I'll be like, okay, let's see what points they have to make. Oh, you know what? They made a good point. I'm changing my position. Oh, you know what? Their position, and that's I'm fine with, right?
But that's a decision that you're making for the direction of your content.
Correct.
And I think for content creators, especially, you said this perfectly earlier. You gotta learn how to stay in your lane, because if my lane is to pump out product for either my patrons or the people who enjoy my stuff, that is my job. Mm-hmm. My job is not to deal with all the people who don't like me and do all that. If y'all don't like me, that's cool. I ain't got time because I got another video coming out. I'm working right now. This is my work. I mean, even if it's your fun thing, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is my hobby. So I don't have to listen to, if I'm out at the basketball court and I'm practicing free throws and someone's like, oh, you suck at free throw. Bitch, shut up. I'm shooting free throws. I ain't got time to, I got to get the ball back and shoot another free throw.
But you know what? You ain't got you're getting there, but you ain't got the toxic fandom that I have. You're working on it. But
there's also a power disparity as well that you've got to take into account. Okay, so say you're doing free throws and some clown does exactly that, and you go, okay, whatever, that's fine. But then imagine if, say, Michael Jordan puts a video out of you going, have a look at this clown doing free throws. All of a sudden, you get harassed on a large scale.
Don't you dare besmirch the name of MJ. He would never
look,
do that to me. He loves me.
I follow the Charlotte Hornets just because he's involved with it. So
It's so bad.
But it's a good point though.
I know.
First of all, if
They're
somebody,
so bad.
but first of all, if
But
somebody
we
did,
still love him.
if somebody did do that, Mikey, first of all, you would have people just berating you, right? But the second of all, the worst thing, I think the most insidious things when I see these about the call out culture is the mental effect it has on people, because it basically says to them, they say, you know what, I really don't want to do this. It demotivates them. And that's pretty much the whole goal of, I think, people trying to do cancel culture and call out culture and online shaming, is that all they want to do is harm people. All they want to do is make people feel bad about themselves. And there are people out there that do think to themselves, you know, maybe I'm not quite good at this. I don't paint as well as I should. I don't draw as well as I should. I don't play basketball as well as I should. Even today, I had that very thing today with when I did my presentations on integrals. Not a topic I'm really that comfortable with, but I muddled through it. I thought I heard I did pretty well on it, right? But I mean, if I would have had one of my, you know, friends, not a troll, because I don't give a crap what they say, but if I would have had like my mathematician friend who did watch it tell me, hey Steve, you know, go back to doing something else. Just don't ever try to teach math. It would be demotivating, right? It would be very demotivating. Imagine a channel that has a much bigger following doing that to somebody. Go ahead.
So everybody has their own little corner of the internet, and we get to put up our fences the way we like. We cut our grass the way we like, and some people may like it, some people may not. Back how you guys were talking about, like how society needs to change and we need to get certain things right in America to prevent us from having Trumps, right? Like if people were more critical thinkers, Trumps don't happen. The fake news phenomenon where all of these hundreds of thousands of random people, every time you bring up anything counter to what they're saying, they just fake news. It just regurgitates right out of their mouth. If they were critical thinkers, they would just like actually listen to what the person was saying. If you guys like a channel, if you guys like anyone who is any kind of creator, you need to show them that support, because as long as I know I got some people that like what I'm doing, I'll try again.
Yeah. And by the way,
but if I get everyone just saying, oh, high five, here's a like on your video, but what that Patreon looking like though? Oh, I don't get no share. I'm looking at the analytics. I have no shares on my video though. So it's on you guys too. You guys watching, you guys need to be active supporters, active watchers, you have to engage with the people that you like, or else they will become demotivated and then you won't see them anymore.
I totally agree with you, right? And by the way, I thank for every Patreon I have. I know you are. I thank for everybody that's joined the channel. I do. By the way, if people can tell you, first of all, anybody that talks to me, I do answer back. I mean, for the most part, any sane person. But especially my patrons and those that have been actively supporting my channel, they get responses pretty quickly, and I spend a lot of time talking to them, a lot of time, and I love that. I love that engagement. But I think, to me, the biggest engagement people can do, one is obviously, you know, sharing your videos. I do think that one of the best things, but actually leaving comments. I love reading comments. I absolutely love reading comments, and comments have been down very much across the board. On many videos. It's not just mine. I watch a lot of other people's content, and I go and I'm watching their video. I'm like, this has like 3 comments. Like, this should have a lot more. I don't understand why this has like, you know, 50,000 views and it's got like 4 comments. So I don't know what's going on.
A lot of people watch live, so
they do, but they don't go back and leave a comment, right? Because I do lives, and so these types of videos.
I'm not going to front.
You don't go back. You don't go back and leave a comment after it's like when it's done. I'm not talking about in the live chat. I'm talking about literally once the video is there. I love to see the comments that people leave when they're constructive. By the way, make sure that they realize this. If you leave me a comment that says like, "Hey, you know what? That Chris dude, yeah, he sucks at politics. The guy should just, you know, go into fashion modeling or something."
That's probably a fair call. I think I'd be a good model. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you strut it? Can you work the catwalk?
Oh, whoa!
Was that harassment?
Calm down.
He's giving permission, Mikey. It's okay.
Whoa!
There'll be a video. There'll be a video. You know, Steve harasses the international guest.
Oh, that's how you're billing yourself now? International. Wait, international co-host.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, even better.
Yeah, Mikey's technically the guest. Although I can see one day Mikey doing this more often. I would love to have that actually.
So one thing I do want to say, and I'll pick up on something you said earlier,
Sure.
Mikey, that people don't need to go into social media. I actually disagree. I think that we're at a point in society and communication and how we talk with each other now, that for a lot of people, social media is almost as essential as food and water. And there's been studies that have been done where people have had their smartphones taken off them for a period of time. And it's quite literally like they've lost a limb. It's actually the same effect in the brain as when someone loses a part of their body. It's Elon Musk, who says some crazy stuff. I'll grant that. Something he said, though, he said that it's almost like we're cyborgs. And when you think about it, it's because we're so connected. It's how do we as humans travel? We can jump in cars, we can jump on planes. We can communicate. I mean, we're communicating with each other. I'm on a completely different side of the planet where it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on
Other side of the planet.
Okay, it's fake. Sorry, it's Thursday here. Sorry, I didn't even know what date it is. Really, I keep telling people we're actually
Flat Earth. Can't he get the time right? Can he? See,
conspiracy.
Worst NASA shill of all time.
But the way we communicate, it's not like I walk into, it would have been tens of thousands of years ago, where I walk into your village and we attempt to make common talk, or we trade, or however it is we do things. We speak a common language on different parts of the planet, and we're doing it almost instantly right now. So people do rely on social media for community. People do rely on social media, to basically survive and being a social species. Now, some of the people who I'm friends with on Twitter, I would consider that I'm closer friends with them than I've ever been with people who I know in the real world, even though we've actually never physically shook hands. We've never broken bread together face to face. If that was taken away from me, that would have a detrimental effect. And I think we've got to be, Ed, the example I was using before, Ed's someone who he's come into a community and he's got friends like myself, like Jay, and we're people who we love the guy. He's a friend. We like, he does good content, and that's all wonderful, but I also just like to have a chat with him and have a laugh with him, and he's a nice guy. And when it gets to the point where he's almost prepared to walk away because of harassment that he receives on that same platform he uses for his social interactions, there's a problem. And I think that is a problem. And look, people are entitled to say, I'm all pro free speech, and if someone wants to call Ed whatever they want to call him, it would be hypocritical of me to say, no, you can't do that, because they absolutely can. But by the same token, I can stand there and say to that person, you're a complete douchebag, and there is a power imbalance that you're using, because when you make that comment, all the people who are trying to impress you because you've got so many followers, because that's a thing, now that's a psychological thing, people have got to understand that effect. So I think if you've got a larger platform, you've also got a responsibility to use that platform correctly, and to be mindful of the effect that it can have on people. Because if me and Steve were to have an argument on Twitter, for instance, we're going to have an argument. A couple of people might back me, a couple of people might back Steve. So be it. But when you've got someone who can then bring, 50 other people into the argument to absolutely dogpile on someone and call them for everything, and then start to look into their history and attack them in that way, to the point where someone who is a very strong-willed individual says, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. That's
and they'll tag. You'll see people tag like 12 people, right? I mean, it's like just tag. Especially like anything that I'm intercession, you'll see them tag a whole bunch of the same people, right? And by the way, we all have them blocked. I mean, whatever. But I mean, it's to them, it's like, oh, let's tag a whole bunch of people. Who does it? I'll tag Chesh. I'll tag some other people here and there, but it's not for them to dagpile. It's usually because they're being talked about, right? I don't say, hey, I'm going to tag 20 people to come shit on somebody because I'm having a disagreement with them and they're wrong. What I do is, for example, if I think they're extremely wrong, egregiously, like, for example, saying Cheshire is not a woman, what I do is I retweet it with a comment. That's how I show, hey, look, this person is a real piece of crap. Nothing wrong with that.
And with this newfound way of interacting with each other, there is that responsibility. You're 100% right. But we also, all of us have to, some of us learn quicker than others. You have to temper yourself as well. Like you can't let the internet break you. It will try.
Oh yeah.
And if you need to take
That's easier
breaks,
said than done.
We all have.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
look,
have
I'm not shameful for having to take a break once or twice. People, I even tell
Yeah.
people I am taking a break. We've all had mental health days in work. Look, I think that is not only necessary. I think it's mandatory that you do so as a ethical consideration to yourself. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to be able to recognize when you need to take a step back, it's going to be detrimental. I mean, it's just an ethical obligation you have yourself, even. So I got
it's part
no
of
problem.
self-care.
Absolutely part of self-care. Yes.
Self-care
Yes.
Self-care is important, and we're back on
Preach
the
it,
critical
preach it,
thinking
man,
thing.
preach it. Can we get an
And
amen?
we're back on and we're back to the critical thinking thing, where if Steve posts something and he's shitting on somebody, I'm not going to just dogpile on top of the person. I'm like, all right, what are they talking about? Well, Steve, you're an idiot. Stop saying that. Just stop dogpiling on that person. You're wrong here. That's how I have that. I might say it. It may not be in front of everybody. It might be behind closed doors, but it will get said. I don't have to just, whenever somebody says something, I have to be the 3 billionth comment on there. The only time I'm ever doing that is when we're like saying who's like pet is the cutest, and then I post my dog, and then I may ham it up, catch him sleeping in the sun. You know, I might try to do it on that thing. But that's one of the more fun parts of the internet. But everyone, you gotta be able to, just as much as it might be our limb, I kind of disagree with that, just because you have to be able to put it down. And if you can't, then that's something else that you have to work on with yourself.
Yeah, I think there's a difference though. But you putting it down yourself rather than have somebody taking that from you is completely different things, right? I mean, again, I do believe that being on the internet does produce some kind of dopamine levels. I do think it does have some type of addiction of that. Now, I'm not saying any of us are addicted to the internet, but I mean, it does allow us to have a voice, and we recognize that fact, right? And there was times where I was like, you know what, I got to stream today. I got to do something. And you know, I don't do that any longer. It's like don't have to do anything. I want to, like the video that I did today. I didn't have to do that. I wanted to do that math video, right? And I like that approach to these things better. I think it's a better way to have, as you said, mental health and self-care, right?
And that's underlined in a lot of the things happening on social media. Is a lot of people, like, look at Kanye.
Yeah,
like Twitter went buck wild ripping on this man.
Why?
Clearly having an episode.
Yes.
Clearly he's having an episode.
Look, I'm not a fan of his, but even I had to be like, wow, this is BS. This is way uncalled for.
He is suffering.
And then they're trying to blame her. They're trying to say like she's not doing enough. I'm sure she's doing everything Kim can do everything in her possibility to help him and their family. It's repulsive to me.
She just put out a statement on Instagram or whatever saying like, yeah, he's having an episode.
Yes.
I understand that. Maybe you shouldn't make fun of somebody because they're having an episode.
I totally agree with you, 1000%.
But it's so easy for them to do it, and they don't have to critically think to do it.
Because
it's fun.
You know,
and you can dogpile, and it's fun.
But
everyone, hold on one second. But then people have to understand that that's a real person. Mm-hmm. That's a real person who had one person in his life that helped rein in some of his bipolar behavior. And he got rich, and he paid for a procedure for her, and she died on the table, and they couldn't bring her back from the anesthesia. Can you imagine the guilt he is feeling about this?
Absolutely.
That's
the problem.
He has been an absolute mess since then, which is why I don't support Kanye's talk, but I still love him as a person, because that's gotta suck, man.
It would be hard.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I couldn't agree with you more. But here, we got to wrap this up. So let me leave it on this, because I think it's a really good note to leave on. In fact, it opens up a thing for another time. But I think it's important to note that it's real easy to shit on somebody. I'm sorry. It takes no talent to be a piece of shit. It takes no talent to be a garbage human being that all you want to do is criticize people. It doesn't take any talent to do that. I'm sorry. I mean, if Mikey was one of those people where he was a commentator, where all he would be doing is finding people he could just shit on, especially for mental health issues, right? I mean, we have, I'll mention a friend of mine, Dead Kenny in Space. Nice guy. One of the nicest guys. I mean, he's a guy that's a nice guy. He's talked about his mental health problems before, very openly, right? And instead of being a community of people that have said, hey, you know what? we're going to help you through this. We're going to talk about it. You know what? We appreciate you being open and honest. And most people were. But there was another side of the community that decided to go the opposite route and start mocking him for it, which means that it's much harder for the people that have mental health to get the help they need because they can't be open up about it because they're afraid of being stigmatized because some people are garbage human beings, right?
And the internet isn't the best place for everything.
I agree with that, but you know what? I think it's therapeutic for people that need it. I mean, some people,
for sure,
but it's a catch-22, right? You know, when you say something on the internet, there are going to be people that will use your maladies, that will use your personal issues and problems and whatever's happening in your life. None of us have perfect lives. Okay, let's be realistic. But there are people that will go out of their way. Well, okay. And by the way,
amazing.
By the way, you could tell people about your announcement again, your big announcement. You know.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
This one right now?
Yeah. Rub it in. Just go ahead.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, he's married.
I met a girl at a rock show, and now she's my fiance.
And it's a great story, and she's really nice. He actually, by the way, Chris, he did good. He actually did good.
He did good?
Yeah, he did good.
That's good.
I know.
She must be nearsighted or something.
I am not going to try to figure it out, right? I don't know, but yeah, he did really well. But you know what? She did too. So mazel tov.
Thank you, sir.
But so let's wrap it up with that. Any things you guys got going on? Show your shit.
I will be. What's tomorrow? Thursday. You can catch the Bin podcast, my podcast with all my international friends. We're in Sweden, the UK, Cali, and Chicago. And we're going to be talking with Landon Curtinol, which some of you might know.
My buddy, Landon. Yes, Landon has been a huge supporter of my channel.
He's amazing. What an amazing person.
He is one of the greatest guys I've ever met in my entire life. Yes.
Yeah, I feel privileged and lucky to know him. And we're going to pick, we did a part 1. We're going to do a part 2 where we just ask him all of our dumb space questions and he just knocks them out of the park. So it's a fun time. So check us out tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central.
Can you throw your link in? Or wait, do you have mods? I don't remember.
No. But I can get a link for you though.
All right. Send me the link. I have it somewhere. All right, Chris, what do you got going on, buddy?
A lot. But we've got Friday Night Six Pack, which is Friday night for me, 9:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 a.m. for those of you who are on the East Coast, and I'm not going to try and convert the rest. That's basically where 6 people get together and we try and solve all the problems of the world while having a couple of drinks. The theory is, it's when you go and have a couple of drinks at the pub, you seem to have the answer for everything. That's what we kind of try and do. We've got the Atheist Pastor podcast, which is at this stage going to be Tuesday night, my time, Tuesday morning for the US, which is just where I basically have one-on-one conversations. Spoke with a Christian conservative commentator the other day. That was an interesting conversation. I've got Conspiracies on a Wednesday night, which is where Bobby Mack and Jay from Nevermore talk about conspiracies. We're tackling satanic panic stuff next week.
Wait, what time is that? When is that?
That's Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard, which I think that's 4:30 in the morning for you.
Yeah, you got some weird time. I hate to invite myself on anything, but I might be interested in that. Just,
you know what? I would love to get you on with Bobby Mack because he's we call him everyone's favorite flurf.
And he actually is a flurf.
He is, yeah, and
okay.
I'll put it out there. He's also my best mate in real life.
Yeah, no. Hey, look, I'm not going to dog the dude. I mean, here's the thing: he could have weird beliefs.
Honest conversation.
Yeah, look, it is not so much about the beliefs with some of these people. It is about how they present them. But if he's a fun, I know people that I'm like thinking to myself, God, you just literally have, like, for example, let me give an example: Saitan Bernacant, right? People like, why the hell are you friends with Saitan Bernacant? He's a very dishonest interlocutor. Yes, I know this, but I happen to get along with the guy, right? I'm not going to hold his weird presuppositional nonsense against him as a person, because he actually really does believe this stuff, right? And I'm sorry, but somebody who actually really believes stuff, those are the people I want to have a conversation with. Those are the people I really enjoy. Why would I alienate them? It is the pose and the people that don't believe what they're saying that I have no interest in, because why bother? You're not having an actual dialogue with them. You're not having a cooperative principle with them.
It's like the Kent Hovens of the world. I mean, they guys full of shit.
Exactly.
He
exactly.
Full of shit.
Bingo. Yeah. See, the difference is even though Saitan is friends with Eric Hovind, and Eric Hovind, I really don't think he probably believes anything of what he's. Yeah, but I do think that Sai actually really does. So,
But yeah, so that's what I've got
Cool.
coming up. I'll throw the link in to the chat if it's not already down
Yep,
below.
toss it out there. Well,
we
your video stuff is in the video description.
Oh, cool. Well,
It's
follow
I'm
the
just
links
gonna make
down
it
in the
permanent in all the
description.
videos, you and Cheshire, because what I was doing is I was like switching out, like this video I'd have yours, then on Caffeine Corner I'd have Cheshire's, and it's like, yeah, I kept messing it up, and Cheshire was yelling at me, "You don't have my video link, I'm gonna find you and kill you," that kind of stuff, goblin type thing,
Hey, well, you wouldn't mess with. One thing I will say though is anyone who, and I know we've spoken a lot about community cancel culture, things like that. If anyone who's out there, even if you hold different views to me, especially if you hold different views to me, but you're looking for a place in the community, you're looking for someone to have a chat to, hit me up on Twitter. I'm very big on. I know when I got out of religion, it was a very lonely place for me. So I want to make sure that no one else.
Yeah, but can I offer the same thing?
Hit me up, message me. I'm happy to have a chat. I might know people that you'll get along with, or I might be able to connect you with people. But yeah, no one should come into a community feeling lonely. So please hit me up.
And I'm gonna offer the same thing. And Mikey probably. Well, you ain't got time, but I don't. I don't have the same agenda really. I mean, I'm not saying that Chris Lee has an agenda, but I mean, I get what it's like to be somebody who comes into a community. Right now, I don't know if Chris how much he's actually. We have a lot of community overlap. There's a lot of different types of communities out there. But the people that he associates with, I mean, he associates with some good people. I mean, really good people I've known a very long time. And so there are people, I think a lot of us should actually reach out more and find people that are searching for this kind of stuff. It helps everybody. And at the same time, I actually enjoy talking to people when they come to me and say, look, all my life I thought this, and I watched one of your videos and I had me rethinking things. There's no greater praise. And I like having those dialogues with those people. Those are the dialogues I enjoy having. I think probably Chris does as well.
Steve,
what am I looking at?
There's the link. I think you linked my channel, but the podcast channel is in the private chat.
Oh! I'm not even looking at the private chat. Do I have a private chat? Can you send it? Can you send it on Facebook?
Yes, I can do that.
Well, hang on, is that the YouTube one? I can chuck that in.
My man.
Yeah, put it on. Give it to me on Facebook, and I'll put it in the live chat right now. There we go. Isn't that what I put? Wait, isn't that what I just put in there?
No.
Done.
Oh! I put the gaming chat. Oh, okay, I see.
So that's like his link in the.
There we go. All right, guys, another great episode. I appreciate the fact that people actually came to watch this. Again, it's a weird time for us. It's 9 to 10 o'clock my time. Not really the peak the best hours, but it's Chris's normal time. But you know what? I like this slot. I really do. Not going to be the most amount of views, but I think it's one of the better content. I really like doing these. I really, really do. And I'm glad that Chris has gone along for the ride. Mikey, you're welcome anytime. You know that.
Alrighty, I'll be here every single night.
Let's not get crazy here. But anyways, thank you guys both for joining us. Thank you for the people that have donated on the super chats and the people that have become members. Tomorrow's Thursday, taking the day off because I usually try to at least have like some days off. So, but I am streaming on Friday. I am going to be doing something that I've been doing called Controversy. Last time I did is Twitter hacking, actually hacking. On this Friday, something Chris may be interested in. I don't know the time frame. I think it'd be like really early in this morning. I don't know, but
what time are you doing it?
I don't know, maybe 6. Well, yeah, you know what? That's not what time. 6 o'clock my time is what your time? It's not that early for you in the morning.
So what time is it there for you now?
It's 10 hours ahead, or 11 hours.
10 for me right now.
Okay, so it's probably early hours of the morning.
Yeah,
5 or 6 in the morning.
I don't think it's that early. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But anyways, what I'm going to be doing.
We had a machine that could tell us.
Right? I mean, modern technology. So what I'm going to be talking about is the controversy with the Atheist International Alliance and the whole use of the word retard with religion. I have a lot to actually add on it, and probably I might actually surprise people because this conversation had denigrated a lot on Twitter. And I talked to Noah Plum. By the way, I really do respect Noah Plum's views on things. If you don't know who it is, go check out No Plum. But I was trying to get all sides because I really wanted to think to myself, objectively as possible, where do I stand in this? I haven't really made a decision. There were some other instances of like the C word being thrown around, stuff like that. And again, which is an Australian word that they love, how it was worded. Do people have the right to even, tell people, hey, you shouldn't use these certain words placing. Like, don't use retard because it might be offensive. Don't does it have the slippery slope into the word idiot?
And interestingly, how that word can be used across different. We speak the same language, but different words or same words have different meanings.
Yeah.
Like you said, the C word. That's kind of if I say that to you're a good. That's like a compliment, and same in the UK.
Yeah, I'm not. By the way, it's not gendered either. It's not
an
offensive word to me when used. Just like any words, some words are not used pejoratively or invectives. But I will say this, and this is why
dialects.
When people,
same language, different dialects.
Sure, but I will say this, and I'll end this. People might be surprised because, like, for example, I'm just going to say this. One of the people involved in this happened to be Kate and Chloe, who I'm no fan of. People know this, but she actually asked a legit question. She was legit just saying to this person, maybe as a leader, as an atheist organization, do you think that you might want to use a better choice of words? I don't think she was wrong on that, by the way. So when I started this full circle here, when I started this night, I even said sometimes you have to put bias aside to try to be objective. This is an example of that. Okay, so there is a conversation to be had there, and I hope you guys join us tomorrow on this channel for that. And we'll see you guys later. Good night.